Hey everyone, Canaris here. So, as a reward for meeting my fundraising goal to get myself to the North American Speedrunner Assembly, I promised the people who provided the donations for that I would read a 35,000 word Jet Force Gemini fan fiction in full with accompanying audio tracks um, and publish it somewhere for everyone to be able to hear it. So, without further ado, I guess we'll get started. So, the story that was chosen for this is called Redemption by Q2, summarized as Alright, a finished story. Mizar returns but is quickly defeated. However, Barry claims his innocence this time. The case is taken back to Earth, where Barry's sentence will be carried out, but his innocence is yet to be proven. 4 chapters of humor. It has 13 reviews and 5 favorites. One of them saying, "Wow, dude, I copied this story onto my computer so I could read this again, and again, excellent fic mate. How come I went psycho using Vela on iCore? I just ran out of machine gun ammo and didn't hit anything." One of them that just says, "Good God." Okay, so without further ado, here is the prologue to the story. After the defeat of Mizar, who is actually Barry in a powerful machine, peace finally inhabited the Tribals' corner of the galaxy. On Goldwood, Barry had been banished away from the Tribals. Juno, Vela, and Lupus, the vanquishers of Mizar, kept the existence of Barry a secret from Jet Force as King Jeff of the Tribals had requested. With Mizar destroyed and Barry exiled, the drones automatically lost their functions, thus dying almost instantly. 1 year later, sudden attacks and kidnappings upon a few tribal colonies were reported to Jet Force. Through investigation by Juno, Vela, and Lupus, it was known as the Return of Mizar. This time, Mizar was more powerful than he was before. Juno, Vela, and Lupus sought to defeat the evil creation once again. While the battle went on, several Mizar drones escaped with the kidnapped tribals. Personally, at the hands of Juno again, Mizar was defeated. Again, all that remained was Mizar's head, and Barry was released from it again. Barry, however, appeared unconscious of any activity. King Jeff was not around this time, and the Federation was already at the scene. Barry's existence was acknowledged, and the secret that Juno, Vela, and Lupus had kept from the Federation was soon uncovered. The slight dishonesty portrayed by Juno, Vela, and Lupus went unpunished, yet unforgotten. However, a much greater fate lied for Barry. The whereabouts of the kidnapped tribals remained unknown. "Are you ready, Vela?" Juno was formally dressed. He wore a navy blue suit and red tie. He stood outside Vela's room, waiting patiently for her to come out. "Give me a break, Juno, damn." Vela's voice came bursting out of the door. She was in the middle of getting dressed. Their spaceship was parked in a parking lot reserved for spaceships from the Jet Force. There weren't many spaceships around, but there were some. Juno's head faced the ground as he waited for his sister. Suddenly, the sound of a door opening caught Juno's attention. He looked up, and before him stood Vela. She had on a red suit and a skirt. She glared at Juno and placed her right hand on her hip. Juno faced her eye to eye. He hadn't a clue as to why she was looking at him like that. "Vela, why are you looking at me like that?" It was the first time Juno ever asked her that question since the second defeat of Mizar. Ever since, Vela eyed her brother coldly. She closed her eyes and shook it off. "Sorry, I still don't know how you got me to do this, but if we sit here, we're going to be late. Let's just get this over with." Vela walked ahead of her brother and called for Lupus. After hearing her voice, Lupus barked and ran to lick at her ankles. Vela kneeled over and petted Lupus's head. Juno walked from behind and shut the door on their way out. Juno, Vela, and Lupus arrived at a courthouse. They went in and walked into a courtroom. It was Barry's trial beginning to take place. Several policemen escorted Barry into the room. Barry wore prison clothes with an ID tag on the left side of his torso. He walked over to the defendant's side and took his seat. The only person beside Barry was his brother, King Jeff. Soon the judge arrived and the trial commenced. Soon it was time to call in witnesses. "I like to call Juno to the bench," Jeff addressed the court. "Well, here it goes," Juno said to himself. Juno rose from his seat and walked over to the bench. Vela sat still, with her arms and legs crossed while kicking and tapping impatiently. The bailiff greeted Juno as he stood before the bench. The bailiff held out a Bible, and Juno placed his hand on it. Juno, she said, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do, Juno replied. Please be seated. Juno sat down, and Jeff began his questioning. Juno, please tell the court what you witnessed on the day in question. Well, that day when we heard about the attacks on the tribals, Vela, Lupus, and I rushed to see what was happening. We did see Mizar. We engaged him and nearly wound up in the same situation as we were before. Vela and Lupus were knocked into unconsciousness, and I was left standing. Although it was tough, I did destroy Mizar's body. His head rolled away from the explosion. As I went to get a better look at it, the hatch opened up and a pod came out of it. The pod opened and there was Barry, but he looked unconscious too. He collapsed out of the pod and laid there for a while. Then, Vela and Lupus woke up. We all saw Barry awaken. He was confused. He kept asking where he was. Then the Federation came and took him away. Did Barry seem to have any recognition as to anything that happened during Mizar's attack? No, he didn't. Did Barry ever remember what happened before someone told him what happened? No, he looked very surprised when the other Geminis read the charges against him. Okay, Jeff turned to the judge. No further questions, Your Honor. With that, Jeff took his seat, but he didn't appear too confident. Barry turned to Jeff. That was the best you could do? Yeah, that sounds pretty true to form for Jeff. I told you, Barry, I'm not a lawyer. Nor have I ever done anything like this before. And side note, Jeff is also terrible at doing anything ever, so it makes sense. Yeah, I know. The prosecutor was ready for cross-examination. Juno, when you fought Mizar, was it a hard fight? Yes, it was. Really? Will you elaborate on the movements of Mizar? Yes. He moved more frantically than last time. It was hard to keep up and hard to take aim. It was like he was going as fast as a real flying insect. If it weren't for my upgraded homing missile ammunition, I don't think I would have won. Were Mizar's movements reckless? Reckless? Okay, let me rephrase that. You said that Mizar was incredibly fast. Yes. Then would whoever controlled Mizar have to move equally fast? Yes. But if someone cannot react as fast, then that person would suffer some damage as he or she is swung around. Yes. And you said the head rolled away from the explosion. Yes, I said that. Did Barry look as if he sustained a lot of pain? Yes. No further questions. The mole turned to the judge and took his seat. Juno got up and walked back to his seat. Barry grew tenser. Jeff approached before the court. I'd like to call Vela to the bench. Vela threw up her arm in detest and rolled her eyes toward the ceiling. She and Juno walked past each other, avoiding eye contact. Vela stood before the bench where the bailiff was holding the Bible. Vela placed her hand on it. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. Please be seated. The bailiff walked away, and Jeff came. Vela sat down and folded her arms. Vela, please tell us what you remember from the day in question. Vela sighed and prepared to talk. I don't remember much from that day. We received calls about a horrible attack and went to check it out. When we got there, we saw Mizar. As we tried to attack, I was hit by one of Mizar's energy balls and fainted. When I woke up, I saw Barry on the ground motionless. When he woke up, he was wondering what happened. Then the Federation came and took him away. When the Federation took Barry away, did he seem very vengeful? No, he didn't. Did Barry act bitterly in any way? The only thing Barry did when he was being taken away was repeatedly said he didn't know anything and it wasn't his fault. He never stopped trying to explain to them. Okay, Jeff was running out of ideas, but suddenly one hits him. Vela, Barry was banished to Rithessa, right? Yes, that was right after the rule of Mizar. He was banished from all tribals. You've been to Rithessa, right? Yes. What's it like there? It's a huge jungle, basically. It's mostly made up of trees, lakes, and caves. Do you recall any type of metal there, or anything representing advanced technology and mechanics? There were very few metals there, and if they were there, it couldn't have been made on that planet. It had to have been shipped onto Rithessa. As for technology, there was very little of it at all. The houses were wooden. So, do you think there's a possible chance for someone to recreate Mizar being limited to the material in Rithessa? No, I don't think so. Especially not the Mizar I tried to fight against. The improvements made on it makes it even harder to believe. Thank you, Vela. Jeff turned to the judge. No further questions. He returned to Barry, who had a surprised look on his face. Good call, Jeff. Don't thank me yet. Your witness, the judge said to the mole. The mole advanced over to Vela. Vela watched him coming. Still impatient, she crossed her legs. The mole quickly caught attention to Vela's action, but shook his head a bit to remain on the subject. Vela? Yes? From your experience on Rithessa, how much life would you say is on the planet? What do you mean by life? Oh, I mean intelligent life, such as tribals, humans, that sort of thing. Tribals as intelligent life is kind of debatable. Yeah. I'm just gonna go with that. I only found one mole and several tribals, but I rescued the tribals. Other than the mole, wild animals, and plants, I don't remember any other kind of life. Were there any type of surveillance to keep an eye on things on Rithessa? No. Were there any kind of communication hardware or devices? There are communication devices available in the landing and takeoff pads. That's what lets our ships know where to land. Are there any other communication devices? No. Was there any way to detect if a ship was going to or coming from Rithessa? No. No satellite orbits around Rithessa. Any type of telecommunication or electronic transmission would have to be done on the planet itself. Would there be any way to detect a ship of supplies coming in? No. And since there isn't much life on Rithessa, is there any way for anyone to keep constant surveillance? Vela paused for a second, knowing where the questioning was headed. No. Okay, he said, turned to the judge. No further questions. The prosecutor and Vela returned to their seats. Barry knew it was his turn next. He grew very tense. Jeff looked a little puzzled. Your next witness? The judge addressed to Jeff. Your Honor, Jeff said before the court. I'd like to call. Barry began to get up his seat. Lupus. Huh? That's right, Lupus. An immediate roar of puzzlement and conversation erupted over the entire courtroom, but it did not drown out the loud voice of someone who cried, "What the hell?" Barry fell back into his chair and collapsed on the table in utter embarrassment. Even Lupus had to raise an eyebrow in confusion. Your Honor, I object, the mole yelled. This is obviously contempt to the court. Besides, how the hell is someone going to interrogate a dog? Order, the judge banged the gavel. Order. Barry sarcastically joked to himself. I'll have one bullet to go on my trip to hell. The crowd silenced down. Jeff quickly tried to explain. Lupus is a trained Jet Force Gemini. That makes him completely acceptable to conversation, and Lupus is still a witness in seeing what happened to Barry. King Jeff, the judge addressed, I will not allow you to bring about this madness into a serious courtroom affair. I am fully aware of the seriousness in this tribal, Your Honor. That's the very reason why I asked to bring Lupus into question. Being a trained Jet Force Gemini, possessing an understanding of moral instinct and character, displaying an ability to rescue tribals, and proving his worth against the Bane of Mizar, Lupus has proved that he is capable of anything we are. Lupus is placed among as any intelligent individual. If he is able to rescue hostages, defeat Mizar, and pilot a spaceship, surely he is able to answer under examination. The judge sighed. That is a well-settled argument. Very well. Proceed with your examination. Thank you, Your Honor. What? The mole asked. This is nonsense. Silence, the judge banged the gavel. I will allow this. Vela still couldn't believe it. She turned to Juno, who just shrugged back at her. She looked down to Lupus. Well, boy, I guess you're up now. Lupus whimpered silently. Go on, boy. Just answer what they ask you. Lupus walked down the aisle toward the front of the courtroom. All eyes stared at him. The bailiff looked down at Lupus by her feet. Lupus looked back up at her. The bailiff shook her head in embarrassment and kneeled down to Lupus. She held the Bible to Lupus, and Lupus placed his paw on it. Do you, swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Lupus performed his trademark howl. The bailiff raised an eyebrow. I guess that means yes. She got off her knees. Lupus walked over to the chair and jumped in it. He faced Jeff and sat down. Lupus's tongue hung out, and he breathed quickly and loudly. Lupus, Jeff said, Juno and Vela claimed that Mizar had hit you and Vela with energy balls that knocked you both out cold. Is that true? Lupus barked affirmatively. And when you woke up, you saw Barry there. Lupus barked again. In Barry's state, did it look as if he could pilot Mizar? Lupus shook his head as if he was drying himself after a bath. Was there any way of telling that Barry was conscious at all during the attack of Mizar? Lupus paused for a moment and then shook his head. Jeff ran out of ideas, but gratified himself for trying his best to help Barry. I have no more questions. Jeff returned beside Barry. Jeff didn't look very happy, and Barry was still embarrassed. The mole approached Lupus and muttered under his breath, I can't believe this. He looked up to the dog and gave an obviously fake smile. Hi there, Lupus. Lupus growled bitterly. Hey, the mole replied. What was that for? The crowd began to laugh. Even Vela, through all of her impatience, managed to snicker. Jeff and Barry chuckled together. The judge banged the gavel and demanded for order again. Lupus, the mole continued, you know how to pilot a ship, right? Lupus barked in confirmation. You also know how to drive a tank, is that right? Lupus barked in confirmation again. So if you had to engage in a battle, you had to stay focused and conscious, is that true? Lupus barked again. If you fainted, didn't your vehicle cease as well? Lupus paused for a second, but barked again. No more questions. The mole rolled his eyes back and turned to his seat. Lupus glanced back at him, but then Lupus dismounted from the chair and went back to Vela and Juno. Later, Barry was at the bench. He sat quietly, yet anxiously. King Jeff rose from his chair and approached Barry. Barry, are you at full acknowledgement that you are under oath? Barry felt extreme tension. The sense of worry overpowered most of his actions. His eyes remained widened. He laid his hands on the bench with a firm grip. Yes, I know I'm under oath, Barry spoke nervously. Then, please tell us in your own words what happened on the day in question. Okay. Barry was still very nervous. Early that day, I was resting in the bed I made. Everything was quiet until I heard a tree branch crack. I sat up and looked around. I didn't see anything but a bunch of trees. So when I decided to rest again, something nailed me right on the head. I fell down and soon, everything blacked out. The next thing I knew, I woke up on the ground. I looked up and saw Juno looking back at me. Then I saw Vela and Lupus gathering around me too. My head ached. My body was sore. I could barely move. I didn't know what happened at all. Barry held his hands against the sides of his head. I don't know what happened. Yes, I admit that the power and authority of that creation overtook me before I was caught and exiled. But now, tears began to form out of Barry's eyelids. I understand that I was wrong. I admitted that to Jeff a year ago. Now it's totally different. I didn't control that second Mizar. Okay, Barry, calm down. Barry was still crying, but he wiped the tears away and looked at Jeff. Okay. Barry, do you have any idea who hit you? Not a clue. I don't know who it was. Okay, Jeff sighed for a bit of relief. I have no more questions. He walked back to his chair and thought to himself, I wish I could do a lot better than this. I can't conjure up a good argument. I'm sorry, Barry. I'm still trying, but it's not doing any good. The mole was in front of Barry. Barry, are you also aware that part of the charges against you are also based on your initial reign of terror as Mizar? Yes, I know that. Were you the only person who knew how to operate Mizar? Yes, I was. Were you the only person who knew that Mizar wasn't real? Yes, I was. According to what you and Jeff claim, you were on an asteroid when you were defeated, correct? Correct. And the asteroid was destroyed along with Mizar's remains? Yes, it was. How long did it take you to build Mizar? A long time. Can you be more specific, Barry? Barry lost his confidence. He was certain of his loss. 1 year. And how long has it been between your first defeat and the day in question? Barry glanced back at Jeff. Jeff only looked back with a saddened face. Barry depressed his head, and closed his eyes. 1 year. No further questions, Your Honor. The mole went back to his seat. Barry returned to Jeff's side. Barry depressed his head and wept. Jeff placed his hand on Barry's shoulder, but Barry didn't respond. Juno narrowed his eyes and palmed his chin. He thought about what happened during the examinations. Vela was still ready to leave, and Lupus sat patiently. Later in the end of the trial, the jury returned with their decision. Barry quickly sulked in his chair. Jeff stared at the jurors as they retook their seat. Juno paid very little attention to the trial. Vela was checking the time on her wristwatch, and Lupus still sat. Jury, the judge called. What is your verdict? A man in a suit stood from his seat. He took the sheet of paper in his hand and read it. We find the defendant, Barry, guilty of the attack by Mizar. We also find the defendant guilty of the previous reign of terror known as Mizar. Barry hadn't changed his emotion, but Jeff depressed his hand in defeat. Barry, the judge called. Barry peered at the judge. Due to your act of intergalactic terrorism, betrayal to the colonies, enslavement, murder, and attempted continuation of your crimes, I hereby sentence you to death after 6 years of imprisonment. Jeff gasped, but Barry still didn't change. The police grabbed Barry and escorted him out of the courtroom while Jeff trailed behind them. The judge dismissed the trial and everyone began to leave, but Juno still sat in his seat thinking. Vale and Lupus walked a few feet before noticing Juno wasn't behind them. Juno, Vela looked back. Aren't you coming? Juno snapped out of his thought and looked at Vela. Oh, sorry, here I come. With that, the 3 Geminis exited the courthouse and returned to their ship. The next day, Barry laid in the discomfort of his jail bed. The room was damp, filthy, and small. Insects crawled along the walls in random directions. Barry felt as if he was imprisoned inside a soda can. Hopelessness was all that Barry felt. He wept again, hoping for some way to escape from his fated death sentence, but the only response his ears received was the sound of a tear splash onto the floor. Barry, a familiar voice cried from beyond the cell door. Huh, Barry replied. He propped up his back and looked outside. He saw King Jeff looking back at him. Jeff! Barry leapt off the bed and nearly rammed himself into the bars. Jeff, how'd it go? Jeff appeared saddened, his face depressed, and the grip of it on his scepter loosened. Barry found the answer to his question in Jeff's facial expression. Barry slowly gripped the bars and sagged to the floor. The Union completely denied my request. Not only that, but they also disavowed any recognition of you as a tribal anymore. That's probably a good thing, I would say. Like, nobody would actually want to be recognized as a tribal. Anyway, great, Barry lost hope again. Just great. I also spoke with the Federation and the government. They disallowed the option of bail. Barry sighed. Why is this happening to me? This whole thing is also a part of the reason why I wanted to take this back to Goldwood. I knew if the Earth was in control, they would punish you much more harshly. No one even believed a word I said, Barry gazed at his brother. You believe me, don't you? He stumbled. Of course. You don't believe me either? Barry screamed. Then why bother helping me? Why even try? Barry, listen, I believe you. You're my brother. I know when you're telling the truth or not. It's just that my story sounds like total crap, Barry finished. I wish it was a bit more believable, Jeff sighed. I just don't know what to do. Maybe there's nothing I can do. Well, a different voice boomed into their conversation. Maybe there's something I can do. The 2 tribals were startled. They turned their heads down the corridor, and Juno stepped out from the shadows. Juno? The brothers asked simultaneously. Juno was dressed casually. He wore a short-sleeved t-shirt, a pair of blue jeans, tennis shoes, and a baseball cap on his head. Juno, Barry asked again, what are you doing here? I presume the same reason why Jeff is here. Do you think I'm innocent? Barry jumped up excitedly. No, not exactly. Huh? Well, I'm not really sure if you're guilty, but I can't be for certain you're innocent either. I'm just a little skeptical altogether. Oh, I see. Barry's eyes closed and his head drooped. I just thought it would be best if someone further investigated the problem. I don't mean by the charge of you being Mizar in the first place. I mean the second charge. You'd do that? Yes. It isn't right if you're innocent, but I'll have to see for myself if you're really telling the truth. Oh, thank you, Juno. Thank you. Thank you so much. Juno responded uneasily. You're welcome. If you're gonna personally investigate, I should tell you where it took place. I was up on the ascent. I stayed right around those old wooden buildings. Thanks, Barry. I'll look into it. Please help me as soon as you can. I swear I'll make it up to you. Juno slid his hands into his pants pockets. He gave a nod to Barry and then one to Jeff. Juno headed down the hallway and into the depth of the shadows. Many hours passed by. Quietness fell over the ship. Vela's room was shrouded by darkness. Vela slept silently in her bed. The calm air caressed her hair, and all was peaceful until noises abruptly caught Vela's attention. Her eyes blinked open as more sounds came into the room. She leaned up from the bed and readjusted the shoulder straps on the nightgown she wore. The sounds became recognized as someone unloading and packing heavy objects. Vela rubbed the sleep out from her eyes and pulled the blanket off of her. She swept her legs over the bed and stood straight up. Picking up her pistol as she walked by her chair, Vela found the source of the noises. Vela found herself heading towards the launch area. She peeked inside to find a figure moving along the shadows. Vela carefully rubbed against the wall, searching for the light switch. When she felt it, she flipped it on and pointed her pistol at the figure. Freeze! Caught completely surprised, Juno backed and nearly tumbled over. What? Juno? Vela snapped in a sense of both shock and anger. She lowered her arms, relieving her a little, but then she glared at her brother. He was completely in uniform. And exactly what the hell do you think you're doing? You woke me up. Oh, sorry, Vela. Vela rubbed her face, trying to ease the stress, but then she noticed Juno's spaceship's door open. Inside were a few guns and other cargo. Hey, she asked, where do you think you're going? Nowhere. I'm just going out. Have you been drinking that cocoa-flavored coffee again? Vela leaned over to Juno and sniffed around his mouth. Juno pushed Vela's shoulder, forcing her to lean back. Hey, stop that. Well, you don't smell like you're high on coffee. So where are you going? All of these short stories are fanfictions, like, obsess about the coffee that's, like, in the first cutscene of Jeff vs. Gemini. I don't understand. Juno sighed, as he knew he wouldn't be able to escape Vela's mood. I'm going to Rithessa. Rithessa? But what? Suddenly an idea hit her. Oh, I get it. You're going to try to prove Barry's innocence, aren't you? No. Well, sort of. Vela folded her arms across her chest and intensely glared at her brother. Juno immediately realized she wanted to know everything. No, Juno said to himself, not the stare. Vela's trigger finger repeatedly tapped on the side of her pistol. Her impatience was apparent. All right, Juno surrendered. When I went out today, I went to see Barry. I volunteered to go out and see if there was anything that could prove Barry's innocence. I just think there's a possible chance that Barry could be innocent. Even if he's guilty, it's best to make sure. Vela closed her eyes, trying to accept the information. So I'm going to Rithessa to look for anything. You can join me if you want. Vela did not say a word for a few seconds. In a moment, she turned around and headed back to bed. Do whatever you want, she shot back. Juno stiffened up from her words, but relaxed a bit afterwards and watched her leave. Mr. Hero, Vela murmured under her breath. Mr. Hero? Juno repeated what she said. Vela stopped realizing she snapped too loudly. What do you mean, Mr. Hero? Juno asked Vela. Vela made no motion answering Juno's question. She ignored her brother and proceeded off to bed. Juno shrugged and prepared to take off for Rithessa. And that's the end of that chapter. Chapter 2. A few days passed by, and no luck came to Barry, Jeff, or Juno. During Juno's lunch breaks, he visited Barry. Sometimes it was only to give Barry a little company. From time to time, they discussed things irrelevant to the case, but fitting for upcoming friends. Soon, 1 week had passed since Barry's trial. It was indeed Juno's lunch break, and he and Barry chatted at Barry's prison cell. I don't think Vela appreciates me seeing you, Juno explained. What, you mean she's jealous? Barry joked. Ah, no. Juno slapped himself on the forehead. I didn't mean it like that. I meant... It's okay, Barry laughed. I know what you meant. She doesn't like you helping me. She probably doesn't think I'm innocent either. It seems that way, Barry. But something still troubles me. She was already like this before I started helping you. Juno faced the back wall in Barry's cell, staring into space. Juno relived, experiencing Vela's glacial attitude. In a while, Juno shook off his memories and focused his attention to Barry again. I don't know, maybe I should talk to her or something. Maybe. I never had a sister before. What's it like? A pain in the neck, Juno quickly answered. Barry laughed. I didn't expect to hear that. Well, she's just being herself. She's brash, irritable, sometimes careless, and stubborn. And that's on her good days. She doesn't take crap from anybody. She's fine, too, Barry whispered to himself. Huh? What did you say? Nothing. Well, Vela's very hard to please. She'll complain like hell if she ever has to type something. Huh? Oh, Vela doesn't know how to type. Really? Yeah, and when she gets frustrated typing, she starts ramming her hands onto the keyboard. I see where this is going. Barry grabbed his waist and laughed hysterically. Moments passed before Barry noticed Juno signaling him to be quiet. Anyway, Juno continued, don't tell her I said that, otherwise she'll kill me. Yeah, sure, whatever. Barry was still laughing, a bit even though he tried to keep quiet. All in all, Vela's very outgoing and independent. She's trustworthy and honest. It's great knowing I don't have to look out for her all the time. Ah, I see. You must feel lucky to have her. Yeah, I am. Barry sat quietly for a while. The silence between them lingered over a minute. Juno spaced out as usual, but as he came to his senses, he noticed Barry suffering from depression. Barry, what's wrong? Well, it's just that I felt kind of bad lately. I mean, I really don't deserve to be Jeff's brother. Nobody deserves to be Jeff's brother because Jeff's such a piece of shit. Okay, anyway, I let my hatred and greed for power overtake me. I only realized it after my defeat. It's my fault. I'm in this mess to begin with. I just wish. Barry gently leaned on the bars and sagged down to the unsanitary floor. He folded his arms around his knees and rested his head on his lap. Juno only stared. He figured Barry's despondency took great effect after witnessing Barry's confession. Juno laid a hand on Barry's shoulder, but Barry didn't react. Come on, Barry. Jeff is really trying to look out for you. I'm sure he understands you and knows you're sorry about everything. He still cares for you. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone through so much to try and help you. Nowadays, you don't see many siblings looking out for each other. You've got a great brother, and you should be proud of that. That's a lie. Jeff's a horrible brother. Barry tilted his head up and met eye contact with Juno. With a boost of confidence from Juno, Barry smiled for a second. Thanks, Juno. Juno let go of Barry and checked his wristwatch. Oh, my break is almost over. Hey, Juno, how's the search going? Well, Juno sighed. Not too good, I'm afraid. In fact, I haven't really found anything. I'd ask around, but the only guy I know in Rithessa is that mole Vela mentioned. I have no idea where he is, and since communication to Rithessa is impossible, I'll have to look around for him. I know that mole, Barry snapped. Huh? You do? Yeah, I see him around sometimes. Some days he'd walk by me and I'll try to get his attention, but he just ignored me and went on. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one who knocked me out. Okay then, I'll be sure to look for him. I have a longer break today, so I should have plenty of time to find him. Yeah, talk to him. I'll bet he knows something. Okay, Barry, I'll talk to you if I get anything. Then I'll see you later. Bye, Juno. With that, Juno departed the prison. Time lagged by as Juno went back on Dudo, patrolling his assigned section of the galaxy. Eventually, Juno's shift was over and he began preparing for Rithessa again. As he began unloading weapons from the gun room, Vela walked in to put her weapons away. After a quick glance at each other, they continued what they were doing. Juno had his things packed up and ready to go. Vela watched as her brother as he began on his way. Going to Rithessa again? She snapped. Juno turned around, feeling a bit surprised that she said something. Yeah, I'll be back in a few hours. Would you like some of my weapons? I have a whole lot since our first fight with Mizar. No, thanks, Vela, but I don't think I'll need that much. Juno went on his way out. Sure. Vela snapped again. Big shots don't need that many weapons. Suddenly, Juno stopped in his tracks as Vela turned around to finish storing her things away. He stormed over to his sister. Okay, Vela, let's hear it. Just what is it that I did to you? Vela paid no attention to him. She remained silent while maintaining a frigid attitude. She was done putting her things away and ignored Juno as she walked past him. Juno grabbed her wrist, keeping her from getting away. Vela didn't look back, but a fist formed from her other hand. Answer me, Vela, Juno ordered her. The frown on Vela's face grew into a hateful scowl. She threw herself around and backslapped Juno's grip away. The two Geminis glowered into each other's eyes. Both of them were extremely displeased. Juno finally broke the deadly silence between them. Okay, Vela, fine. Don't tell me. I just wish I knew what it is I did to you that makes you this angry to me. Vela remained perfectly still. However, she was still angry at Juno. She closed her eyes and walked out of the room. Juno sighed and continued on his trip to Rithessa. While Juno was gone, Vela laid in her bed, but she did not rest. She wore her casual clothes, a white shirt, a red skirt, and tennis shoes. Her hands were behind her head. She faced the ceiling, but her mind wandered into space. She crossed her legs, hoping to achieve a sense of relaxation. Restlessness still dominated her body. She was very quiet physically, but mentally her mind raced with so many thoughts. Minutes trailed before Vela decided on something to be done about it. I need to get out, she thought to herself. Maybe I'll get something to eat back on Earth. She lifted herself from the bed and headed towards the launch area. Lupus came in, wondering what Vela was doing. Oh, Lupus, Vela greeted. I'm going out for a little bit. Lupus barked affirmatively and ran over to Vela. No, boy, you stay here and hold down the fort while I'm gone. Lupus whimpered and sat down. Don't worry, I'll be back. In approximately a half hour, Vela arrived on Earth, but she had troubles deciding where to land her ship. There were different restaurants to choose from. She passed by an unusual building complex. She peeked down and recognized it. Ah, that's where they're keeping Barry. It was difficult, but she tried to restrain her anger. When she was calmed, she lost her appetite. Great, she sighed. You know what? I'm going to give that fool a piece of my mind. Vela landed her ship nearby the prison. In a few minutes, a prison guard walked to Barry's cell. "Yo, Barry," he said, "you got another visitor. You seem to be pretty popular lately." "Huh?" Barry got up from his bed and gave the guard a curious look. Juno said he'd do something else around this time, and Jeff should be doing his usual king stuff. "Well, you got a visitor anyway." The guard walked off, and Barry shrugged. "I wonder who it is." "Barry." Vela's voice boomed down the hallway. "Huh?" Barry peered into the shadows and recognized a feminine figure approaching him. Vela came into view, and Barry jumped from the expression on her face. "Vela?" Vela stood before Barry's cell. She folded her arms and glared at the startled tribal. Neither of them said anything for a moment. "Well," Vela shot at him, "my brother is out on a jungle planet, hoping to find something he never will, all because of you. I hope you're happy." Barry tried to smile. "I'm innocent, really." "I'll believe that when Ray Charles is the president of the United States." What the This is supposed to be like hundreds of years in the future. Did Ray Charles just like figure out immortality? Or is there another Ray Charles that nobody reading this would know about? Oh, what the hell? Come on, Vela, you gotta believe me. No, you were the original Mizar. You plagued us all with a war that threatened planetary systems. You were the only one who knew that Mizar was just a machine. It had to have been you. Vela, come on. I told you all of what happened. Honestly, I was out cold the whole time. Damn it, Barry. You think we're dumb enough to believe that? Geez, you really need to relax. Vela, even if you think I'm guilty, all of this anger is unnecessary. Don't even dare tell me what's unnecessary. Barry's eyes widened and Vela grew more impatient. Vela thrusted her arm and pointed at Barry. Stop telling Juno you're innocent. It's already bad enough he's waking up in the middle of the damn night, hauling his shit into that ship. Now you're gonna get his ego started up again. Hey, look, I'm sorry that he's waking you up. What did you exactly mean by ego? Juno's gonna brag? He didn't seem like the bragging type. Well, he took all the credit for beating Mizar. Oh, so he bragged about beating me? Yeah. What exactly did he say? Bela frowned into space, trying to remember Juno's exact words. After 10 seconds of nothing, Barry interrupted. So, he didn't say anything, did he? Well, he did dance the whole dang night thinking he was all that. Juno can dance? Barry raised an eyebrow. So how many nights did he dance? One. One. Out of 365 days, you're still upset over one night? I'm surprised you're a Jet Force Gemini. Vela glared at Barry as he continued. And you're this upset at Juno for something he didn't even do? Vela kept silent. I'm surprised. Juno told me much about you. Oh yeah? He said some very good stuff about you. He said that he can trust you and don't have to look out for you. He also said he was lucky to be your brother. Vela eased her frown and looked at Barry. He said that? Not only he said it, he meant it. He really cares for you. Oh, this is getting cheesy. He also said he wished he knew what he did when he made you this angry. To be honest, I'd like to know too. What did he do? Hit you or something? He didn't hit me. Then what, Vela? Vela shut her eyes, trying to remember her reasons for being angry with Juno. Soon she began shaking her head slightly until she grew very frustrated and shook her head rapidly. I don't know. She threw her arms down ferociously and paced around. I don't know. I just am. Uh-huh, Barry surmised. Of course you don't know. He didn't do anything to you. I bet this ain't nothing but your cover-up problem. Vela raised an eyebrow and slowly turned to Barry. She'd never heard a term like the one Barry just used. Cover-up problem? Yeah, well, that's what I call it. I did the same thing before I was Mizar. I was really angry about something, but I blamed it on Jeff and the other tribals instead. They didn't deserve that. Well, Jeff did. That's my comment, not the stories, but Jeff definitely deserved it. It wasn't their fault at all, just Jeff's. I was very angry, but instead of confessing it and telling it to someone, I let it consume me. I believed it was the tribal's fault, when in reality it wasn't. It was just Jeff's. Do you see what I mean? Whatever problem you have, you're not admitting it to yourself. Instead, you're trying to make up some excuse and blame someone else for it, namely Juno. He doesn't deserve that. No one does. Vela folded her arms, but she shut her eyes and depressed her head. She was a lot calmer than she was earlier. She opened her eyes and stared at the stained floor beneath his feet. She didn't have any words to say, not even to herself. So, Vela, Barry continued, do you want to keep that problem to yourself? Stay angry at Juno and do something you'll always regret, like I am, here rotting in this cell? Vela kept quiet, but she still had a small frown on her face. She wasn't quite as impatient as before. Thanks to Barry, she realized she had been wrongly cold to her brother. Lightness came in between both of them. Barry sat down on his uncomfortable bed, but hadn't taken his eyes off Vela. He didn't expect a response to come, so he decided on being more helpful. Or would you like to tell me what's bothering you? Vela jerked her head up. Barry was offering help to her. He pointed to a chair behind Vela and motioned her to bring the chair over. Vela glanced at the chair and back. She glared at Barry for a moment, but Barry was not startled anymore. He sat confidently opposed to Vela's stare. In a few seconds, Vela abandoned her fierce look and headed to the chair. Barry smiled a little. He was confident that things were going to be okay for Vela soon. Juno found himself at the mining mole's home. Carefully, he approached the door and knocked on it. There wasn't an answer for about a minute. Juno decided to look around a bit more. As he stepped away from the house, there was a rumble in the bushes to Juno's left. Juno braced himself for whatever might come out. Suddenly, a large white dog lunged itself from the bushes. Juno only gazed at the animal. The dog growled fiercely and prepared to pounce. Juno did not recognize its motions at all. The dog bared its teeth, and soon it leapt at Juno. Juno was unprepared for an animal such as that one. The dog fell on Juno and threatened to bite Juno's head. Juno grabbed its mouth and tried to force the dog off of him. Foam dripped from the creature's mouth and onto Juno's suit. The power between the two seemed even. Then another creature walked out of the bushes. It looked at the two on the ground. "Flopsy? Hey, get off him!" The dog jerked up and ran to its master. Juno sat up and wiped the foam off his suit. The dog's master walked up to Juno. "Hey, are you okay, man? Sorry about Flopsy here. He's actually quite playful, just as long as you don't move around like some small wounded animal. Or tribal. Heh." Juno stood on his feet and studied the dog's master. "Hey, you're the mining mole that lives on this planet, aren't you?" "Yeah, that's me. The name's Fernando. Don't nobody get sad or nothing when they do business with the mole brother." Juno raised an eyebrow. Good quote. "Thanks. So, ain't you Juno from Jet Force?" "What brings you here to my place? There's no tribal here, if that's what you're looking for." "Actually, I'm here to ask you some questions." "Questions?" "Yes. For instance," Juno reached into his suit and pulled out a photograph. He faced it towards the mole. "Do you know this tribal?" It was a picture of Barry in his kingly outfit with his glowing staff. The mole's eyes widened. He stumbled in his words. "I haven't seen him. Why do you think that?" "But he was sentenced here for a year not too long ago." "I still don't know what you're talking about." Juno narrowed his eyes. He knew something was up, but decided not to force information from him. "So you haven't seen him at all?" "Nope, not at all, sorry." "No, don't worry, I was just looking for information." "Oh, of course, information, that's all." "Sorry I wasn't much help. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some very important business to attend to in my mine." "Oh, sure, by all means, go right ahead." "Thanks. Come on, Flopsy." Juno watched Fernando and Flopsy head back towards the mine. Juno narrowed his eyes again and thought, he obviously knows something about Barry. I guess Barry may be innocent after all. Juno checked his wristwatch. Uh-oh. It's going to take this much time left just to get back to the ship. I better go ahead and leave. Juno ran back towards his ship. Meanwhile, Fernando was in one of the rooms inside the mine. Another mole brother was with him, but that mole brother had his attention fixed in the book in his hands. That Jet Force guy came back again. Fernando paced back and forth. This time he was asking me about Barry. I don't like this. I thought Moyer said the trial went smoothly. This guy must know something. He finally saw that his brother wasn't paying attention. Hey, are you listening to me? Fernando got a closer look at the magazine in his brother's hands. Suddenly, he recognized it and snatched it away. Hey, his brother cried. This is my intergalactic tribal porn magazine. Hey, dude, that ain't cool. Besides, you said I could look at it. That was yesterday, MC. This is today, and I say hell no. Come on, man, quit dissing me and let me see the centerfold again. No, this is my magazine. As the two brothers bickered back and forth, another mighty mole brother strolled into the room. Will you two shut up? Damn, I could hear you in the back room. Yo, my bad, fish face, MC protested, but Fernie over here has taken my mags again. It's my magazine, Fishface exclaimed, and stop calling me Fernie. That's enough, Fishface screamed. Geez, we're in a cave for crying out loud. I almost hope you cause an avalanche and kill yourselves. I got some bad news, bro, Fernando explained. That Jet Force guy, Juno, came by and asked me about Barry. What? Oh, crap. What are we going to do now? If that Juno figures this out, then we're history. It seems that Barry has a big mouth, a different voice echoed through the room. The Mole brothers turned around to see a figure in the shadows. Moyer, they cried. If Juno's been snooping around here, Moyer said, that means Barry is probably convincing him to look around here. I was certain no one would believe his story. I guess Jet Force Geminis are that stupid. Well, Fishface asked, what are we going to do then? We must eliminate the problem and cut it from its roots. I will order the drones to personally escort Barry here. Fernando, you take that mud of yours and see if you can get Juno before he gets back to his ship. We can't risk him following up on us. When you find him, kill him immediately. No prob. Fernando answered. For the rest of you, make sure that no one finds the tribals while I'm gone. Sure, man, MC confirmed. We got you back, bro. Just leave it to us. Good, I'm counting on you this time. I'll see you in a few hours. Fernando, Flopsy, and Moyer left the mine. Fishface and MC remained in the room. Yeah, let's do this, bro. MC stuck his fist out at Fishface, who just ignored the hand gesture. Come on, man, don't leave me hanging. Give me some dab. Fishface glared at his brother for a moment and then walked away, shaking his head. Fine, forget you, fool, MC yelled back. Later in the day, Barry managed to get Vela to confess her problems. She had brought the chair in front of Barry's cell and sat in a relaxed position. Before Mizar's reign grew severe, Vela was explaining to Barry, people thought I was just some little bitch trying to be with her brother. The girls made fun of me, saying my breasts were fake and I was looking for some guy to be with. What the fuck? This story got so weird all of a sudden. The guys never appreciated me as a woman, just eye candy. I wanted to prove to them that I was capable of anything and more than the average can do. But I never got a chance to prove what I could really do for many years. When Mizar finally began its invasion, I knew that was my chance to prove myself. As I rescued the tribals and searched for those missing ship parts, I was preparing myself to take on Mizar. I knew if I helped defeat him, that would change those other perceptions about me. I upgraded my ammunition more than Juno or Lupus had done. I was so ready to fight. Then, when I was right there before Mizar, he cornered us, and hey, why am I telling you this part? You were there. In fact, you were Mizar. Barry gulped. Okay, I knocked you out with energy balls, and so you woke up to discover I was beaten. You were disappointed, right? Yes, Vela sighed. I thought I'd never get my chance again. Then we heard about Mizar's return. I thought this time I'd defeat Mizar, but no, the same thing happens. I got knocked out again. I don't think I'll ever prove myself. I know how you feel, Vela. She quickly frowned at him. How the hell do you know how I feel? I guess I'll have to explain my story then. I had a similar problem. My brother was the king and I was stuck with nothing. He got the attention, he had the powers, I didn't have anything. Everyone saw me as just as Jeff's brother, no significance. Of course I was jealous, but that was only the beginning. Since I had time to myself a lot, I messed around with little blocks. You know, like those Lego blocks you guys have on Earth. That's when I started discovering my interest in building and constructing. Soon I got around to mechanics and science. I loved it so much, but the tribals just thought I was weird. You see, tribals generally do not give in to technology. We're a more nature-setting species. Tribals mostly tried to keep away from technology. I didn't. I wanted to know more. So sometimes I left Goldwood and went to other planets to learn more about technology. Everyone thought I was crazy, even Jeff. A few years passed, and I had an idea to improve Goldwood with a higher advanced technology similar to Earth. I proposed the idea to Goldwood in the Union, but they denied it. Jeff sided with them. No matter how hard I tried to convince them, they still denied it. The reason was because the planet Goldwood itself couldn't support that much of an increase in technology. Deforestation would jeopardize the planet due to its lack of sufficient water supply. Goldwood doesn't have many huge oceans like Earth. In fact, there's actually more land than water. I knew this was true, but I didn't want to believe it. I thought they were just trying to ignore me because they all thought I was crazy. I especially blamed Jeff, but it wasn't a good reason. Debatable. I think it was a good reason. Any reason to blame Jeff is a good reason. It consumed my mind until it became hate. I left Goldwood with hatred against them. That's when I created Mizar and mass production of the drones and drone colonies. Only now do I see that Jeff cares for me. I realized I was wrong, and now I have my life to pay for it. So do you see, Vela? I covered up my feelings and emotions by putting blame and hate on someone else. And over time, I believed in that hate. Now look at me. I am condemned to this prison for 6 years, then I die. All of this could have been avoided if I had simply accepted the facts and did not blame anyone. But no, I did the same thing that you're doing now. If you think you feel any worse than I do, come on and try me. Vela kept very silent and thought about everything Barry had said. Her frown disappeared. She sat softly in her chair. Her body was calm, but her mind flowed with many thoughts. She hadn't said a word in a minute. Look, Vela, Barry continued, the trick is to accept the reality of things, but you don't have to accept what these people think of you. You just have to either wait for your opportunity or force a chance to prove yourself without harming any innocent people. Most of all, do not get angry and blame someone else. If you feed off that anger, you'll commit something you'll regret doing forever. Know what I'm saying? Vela peered up at the imprisoned tribal. Barry sat firmly on his bed. Vela resumed a saddened look. She had no reasons to be angry because her grief was released. Maybe I have been hard on Juno, she thought. But I still don't get... An explosion boomed outside. Barry and Vela jerked their heads around towards where it came from. What the hell was that? Vela screamed. You got me. Barry answered. Vela ran through the shadows and into the next room. She suddenly stopped to see several drones fighting off the prison guards. The guards were only armed with nightsticks, unlike the handguns the drones had. In close combat, the prison guards were still overtaken. Most of them were shot from a distance. The drones swarmed the room until the only resistance left standing was Vela. She didn't make any sudden moves to alarm them. However, one drone prepared a grenade in his hand. When Vela caught sight of the upcoming attack, the drone quickly threw the explosive towards her. Vela leapt back into the hallway before impact with the grenade. The explosion barely missed Vela as she rolled back to avoid any other damage. The walls and ceiling caved in between Vela and the drones. Vela got to her knees and tried to reach into her pocket for a weapon, but she only found her red skirt with no pockets at all. Damn, I left my weapons on the ship. Another explosion knocked away the rubble between Vela and the drones. The smoke cleared and Vela saw a huge Mega Blaster drone on the other side with its gun barrel smoking. The drones invaded the hallway and stood their ground against the Gemini. Barry peered out of his cell to see what went on. What do you bugs want? Vela yelled. We came to get Barry out of prison, the leading bug answered. That's what. Vela gave a harsh scowl, but it wasn't intended for the drones. She shot her scowl back at Barry, who was already shocked by the words of the leading drone. What? Barry screamed. You liar, Vela protested. What? No, I had nothing to do with this, I swear. All of that bullshit you told me back then, it was all a lie, wasn't it? Vela, listen to me. I have nothing to do with this. Everything I said is true. Don't let your anger decide your beliefs. Vela ignored Barry and turned back around the drones. I'm not letting you take Barry anywhere. Oh, the drone teased. Big shot, huh? What's a pretty little bitch like you gonna do? Breastfeed me? What the fuck? Okay, whatever. All of the drones cackled hysterically, but Vela was getting more enraged every second she heard their laughter. Barry wondered whom to worry from more, the drones or Vela. The leading drone still laughed. It was only a matter of time before it felt Vela's fist hammering into its gut. The drone squealed, causing the other drones to cease laughing and find Vela on the attack. They even saw Vela's fist imprint in the leading drone's back. Vela kicked the drone away and darted for the others. The remaining drones were not ready for Vela's advancement. She gave the nearest drone a quick roundhouse and headed for the next one. The drone thrusted its gun at Vela as if the gun were a sword. Vela leaned back to dodge and retaliated with a powerful uppercut to the chin. As the drone was sent ramming into the wall, another drone lunged and screamed behind Vela. Vela immediately turned around and ducked her head. The drone flew over Vela and hit the wall. Two more drones aimed their guns directly to their enemy. Vela caught sight of them and leapt into the air before they got fired at. The drones looked up, but did not react before Vela landed on one of them, feet first. It was squished into the floor, but the other drone prepared to fire at Vela again. This time, she grabbed the gun, snatched it away from the drone, and delivered the bug another roundhouse. Really likes these roundhouse kicks. Vela glared at the last three drones. The last ones were two blue bugs and the Mega Blaster drone, but they were armed. The two drones held their guns like clubs and attacked Vela. They both swung their guns overhead, but Vela dodged by sidestepping between them. One drone quickly turned around for another overhead swing. Vela blocked the attack with the gun in her hands and kicked the drone in the waist. The other drone spun around and taunted Vela. However, it was too close to her. Vela wasted no time side-swinging her gun into the drone's head. The weaker foes were defeated, but Vela heard the Mega Blaster drone's gun powering up. She pointed her gun at the drone, as well as the drone had its gun aimed on Vela. The two stood in a disproportionate face-off. The bug was much larger and bulkier than Vela and possessed a more powerful weapon. You lost, Vela, the bug taunted. Even if we shot it once, the gun wouldn't kill me, and my gun would easily blast you to pieces. Drop your weapon. Vela stood her ground. She didn't drop her gun nor lower her guard. Fine, the bug concluded. Then die. The bug's gun powered up for its attack. Vela glowered as she pondered what to do. At the last second, she shoved her gun into the barrel of the bug's gun. What? It cried. The blaster gun fired, but due to the congestion, it exploded. The drone staggered back, trying to maintain its balance, but Vela was thrown back through the hallway. She landed on her back, but she stumbled across the floor, until finally stopping on her front. Vela laid there motionless, with torn clothes and scars and bruises along her body. The bug growled heavily as he approached Barry's cell. The hopeless tribal stumbled back in fear. The drone pulled the bars from the door and advanced. No, Barry screamed. Stay away from me. I don't own you anymore. Shut up. You're coming whether you say so or not. With that, the bug knocked Barry in the head. Barry fell to the floor. Why? Barry whispered. Why is this happening to me? He fell into unconsciousness. The drone picked up Barry and headed off towards the other room. Soon the other drones woke up and staggered back to the other room. As they left, Vela began to come around. She pushed herself up on her hands and viewed the scene. The drones and Barry were gone. Vela narrowed her eyes as she continued to get up. She grasped her left shoulder and stood on her right leg. She began to run after the drones, but when she placed her weight on her left leg, she screamed in pain and nearly collapsed. She braced her weight against her right leg. Afterwards, she brought her wristwatch towards her face and pressed one of the buttons on it. The screen on the watch changed to a static screen. "This is Vela," she spoke into the watch. "I'm on Earth and there's a jailbreak in progress." She started limping out of the hallway. "Several of Barry's drones have broken in and are escaping with Barry. Request backup immediate. Ah." She put too much pressure on her left leg and nearly fell again. "Vela," the chief responded through her watch. "You sound injured. Fall back and wait for assistance." "Negative, sir. It's just some bruises and I have gems in my ship. I am continuing on this pursuit. Vela out." Vela proceeded out of the prison. By the time she was out, the drones had left in their ship along with Barry. Vela went over to her ship. Inside, she collected a few blue-colored gems and held them in her hand. The gems flared into a heavenly light, engulfing Vela's ship. The gems dissolved into Vela's hands and caused a tingling sensation throughout Vela's whole body. She couldn't help but smile as if she were being tickled. Her entire body flashed intensely. She tucked her hands at her waist, closed her eyes, and faced the ceiling. She stood calmly and relaxed. She softly exhaled through the tiny opening between her lips. Finally, the light dimmed down until the ship regained its original lighting. Vela opened her eyes and inspected her body. Her casual clothes were still torn, but her scars and bruises had vanished. She rotated her left arm without any problem. She placed her weight against her left leg and did not feel any pain at all. Then she kicked with her right leg without feeling any pain. She was completely healed. Without wasting any more time, Vela headed for the bridge of the ship. She took off for space. The drone's ship sped through outer space. They were not followed. Moyer was in the ship thanking the drones. "Excellent," Moyer gratified the drones. "You've done well." "Sir," one drone called. "What is it?" Moyer turned to the drone. "I've just been informed that there's Jet Force ships swarming around up ahead. They're sure to spot us if we continue on this route." "Great. Take a different route then." "That's convenient." "Right, sir." The ship took a detour. As it left the area, Vela's ship sped through. The drone ship was completely out of Vela's view. "Great. Where are they?" Vela questioned herself. She sat in her seat thinking of what to do. Suddenly, her viewing screen came on and an image of the chief appeared on it. "Chief?" Vela saluted. "Vela," the chief asked, "have you been able to find the drone ship?" "No, sir. I hate to say it, but it looks like they got away." "We'll just have to search around. They couldn't have gotten very far. I've already contacted all of Jet Force and we're on the job. Well, almost all of Jet Force." "Almost, sir?" "That's right. I haven't been able to contact your brother. Do you know where he is?" "Juno?" Vela was uncertain of what to say. Vela, are you trying to hide something?" "No, sir, I'm not." "Then tell me, where is Juno?" Vela sighed. "Juno's at Rithessa." "What? Why?" "He knows we cannot go down there without permission from me and support from Jet Force. He went down there to see if he could prove that Barry's innocent." The chief glared, but not particularly at Vela. "I see." Vela closed her eyes, knowing the chief was upset. "I'm sorry, sir. I should have stopped him." "Maybe so, but now is not the time to discuss this. So I will speak with Juno personally. Besides, communication is impossible to and from Rithessa, so it'd be best if I talked to him myself. Since Juno's already there, I'm ordering you and Lupus to go down to Rithessa and see if you can find anything following up on Barry's location." "Yes, sir." "Good." Fernando and Flopsy were right on Juno's trail. They kept a long distance away from Juno to avoid being heard or spotted. Juno never noticed them. He was still on his way to the takeoff pad. "Juno sure is in a hurry," Fernando questioned. "We'd better hurry if we're going to kill him." Flopsy barked affirmatively, but Fernando was startled. He covered Flopsy's mouth and bent down in the bushes. Juno heard the bark and turned around. He didn't find anything unusual. After the glance, Juno continued to head to the takeoff pad. Fernando was still on the ground. "Don't do that again," Fernando whispered to Flopsy. "We can't let him see us, or he might not get the chance." Flopsy whimpered. After a while, Juno saw the takeoff pad over the horizon. Fernando noticed that as his opportunity. "This is it, Flopsy. He's got his guard down. Get ready to feast." Flopsy growled silently. She was ready to get Juno. However, Fernando noticed something else. Someone was already at the takeoff pad, and there was another ship there. "What the? Someone's already there. Great, we can't get him now." Fernando hid in the bushes while Juno finally noticed someone at his takeoff pad too. Juno examined the person until he fully recognized her. "Vela?" he exclaimed. Juno rushed over to meet her. Vela was completely in uniform. She folded her arms and looked at Juno coming. Suddenly, Lupus came out from around Juno's ship. He barked and smiled at Juno as he came up to them. "Hey guys," Juno greeted him. "What's going on? Why are you two here?" Juno looked beyond the ship. He saw another ship, but it didn't belong to Vela or Lupus. Still, Juno recognized it. "Isn't that the chief's ship?" "That's right," Vela confirmed as the chief stepped out of the ship. He approached Juno and glared at him. Juno felt a sense of worry. "You're in trouble, Juno," Vela explained. Juno gulped and saluted to the chief. "Sir, what brings you here, sir?" "You are what brings me here, Juno. Vela tells me you've been coming here without my approval." "That's true, sir. She also says that you've been trying to help Barry by proving his innocence." "That is also true, sir. So not only do you defy my orders, but you attempt to assist a terrorist." "I'm sorry, sir, but if I may have a moment to explain my actions, I believe that it's possible that Barry is innocent of this incident involving the second Mizar." "Well, then maybe this bit of news will change your mind. Barry escaped." Juno stood surprised. "He what?" "He escaped," Juno, Vela affirmed. "Believe me, I was there. I'm an eyewitness." "But how?" "A few of his drones broke in and got him out. They're now in space somewhere, but no one knows their location." "He couldn't have." "He did, Juno, admit it." "But that's enough," the chief interrupted. "I've contacted King Jeff, and he has no idea on Barry's whereabouts either. The only other place left to look for clues is Rithessa. Since you're already here, I'm appointing you three to find anything we can use." Juno stuttered. "Yes, sir." "When this is over, you can expect a discussion about your actions, Juno. But for now, if you act to assist Barry in any way, I will have you arrested for helping an escaped convict. Is that understood?" "Yes, sir." "Good," the chief turned to Vela. "Vela, don't let him do anything like that again." "Yes, sir," she answered. The chief headed back for his ship. Juno relaxed a bit, but he felt sorry for himself. Vela was considerably angry. Lupus did not show much emotion. Fernando and Flopsy were still in the bushes. "Great," the mining woman whispered. "Now the others are here. We better head back and tell the others. Let's go, Flopsy." The mole and his pet left the area. By this time, the chief's ship was out of sight. Juno, Vela, and Lupus were silent for a moment. Lupus seemed worried that the two siblings weren't speaking. Juno looked around and did not see Vela or Lupus' ship nearby. "Hey, Vela," Juno asked, "where's your ship?" "Since the chief came down too, there wasn't much room for both of us to land. We landed elsewhere. I landed a bit further behind the landing pad, and Lupus landed somewhere behind me. So have you found anything useful since you've been here?" "Not anything, but I did find the mole brother that lives here. He obviously knows something. I asked him about Barry, but he denied ever seeing Barry. Barry said that mole saw him and ignored him during the last year." "Barry's just lying, Juno. He's been lying to you this whole time." "I don't think so, Vela." "What? And what makes you think Barry isn't lying?" Juno turned around and closed his eyes. He remembered the battle against the second Mizar. He remembered the state of confusion on Barry's face when the Federation took him away. He remembered when Barry was in the cell and they chatted as if they were friends. He remembered Barry's sadness when he talked about him and Jeff. Juno shook his head in disbelief. "No, I still see Barry being innocent." "Juno," Vela sighed, "how much longer are you going to deceive yourself? Barry is, has been, and always will be Mizar." Juno remembered the mole's uneasiness when he asked him about Barry. He knew there had to be a connection. "No, Barry has to be innocent." Vela rolled her eyes and threw her arms up in frustration. She walked over to the front of Juno's ship, folded her arms, and stood there. Lupus jerked his head back and forth at them. Juno did not take his eyes off Vela. He knew she was mad. However, Juno kept his belief. Vela tried to harness her anger. She wanted Juno to realize Barry was guilty, but she couldn't figure out why Juno denied Barry's guiltiness. Suddenly she heard Juno walking away. "Hey," she yelled at him. "Where do you think you're going?" "Barry must have been kidnapped." Juno stopped and turned back to Vela. "What?" "That's right, I'm sure of it. That mole knows something. The way he reacted to my question was too suspicious." "Juno, you're just being an idiot. Barry terrorized and enslaved an entire planetary system. He is ruthless. He's deceitful. He was the mind of Mizar. He still is the mind of Mizar. It may have been all of that before we defeated him the first time, but don't you remember that he helped destroy the asteroid that nearly collided with Earth? He directed that asteroid to Earth in the first place." "Maybe, but he still designed the explosives and gave it to us to destroy that asteroid. I'm just glad we defeated him before the asteroid did collide with Earth, because he..." "What are you talking about, Juno? You're the one who beat Mizar. You are. It was all you. I didn't have anything to do with it. You beat Mizar, not me." Juno stood dumbfounded. His eyes zipped back and forth, looking for some explanation. Vela quieted down again. Juno finally thought he would not find anything, so he asked Vela. Vela, how did we get on who beat Mizar. Vela said nothing, but the idea finally hit Juno. Oh, wait, is that what you've been so angry about? That I beat Mizar and you didn't? Vela, you know I had no choice. Hell, none of us had a choice. Just like when we first saw Mizar. Lupus was the only one who could fight him then. I couldn't help it if I was the last standing. Is that what you're so mad about? Vela made no reaction. To Juno, that meant yes. Vela, look, if I had things my way, I would have wanted us to fight Mizar together. If I had that power, we would have. But Mizar was in control. It was his territory. What do you want me to have done back then? Ask Mizar to stop and wait until you woke up? Juno waited for Vela to answer, but she remained irritated. Lupus was deeply concerned about them, but he did not know what to do at all. I don't have time for this, Juno finished. I have to help Barry. Juno walked off in the direction of the mole's house, but Vela looked up. What? Didn't you hear what the chief just said? Juno kept walking. I know what he said, Vela, but Barry could be in serious danger. He needs help before something happens to him. I'm gonna get that mole to start talking. Maybe it's not too late to help Barry. Juno was sure of his actions this time. He did not want to waste any more time. He kept his pace. Suddenly, a pistol was drawn and reloaded directly behind Juno. He heard the sound, stopped, and stood perfectly still. Lupus couldn't believe what he saw himself. Vela approached Juno with the reloaded pistol in her hand until her gun was pointed directly behind Juno's head. You know I can't let you do that, Juno, Vela explained. The chief told me to stop you from doing that. Besides, you're only fooling yourself. So what else is new? Juno sarcastically asked. I still don't get why you insist on helping him. I guess I'm just soft. I noticed something wrong when Barry was taken away, and when he confessed before the court, and Barry apologized to us and destroyed that asteroid. Why would he go back on his actions? When I talked to him at the prison, he showed care in his brother. He showed shame in his first rule as Mizar. He realized a lot of things and expressed them to me. It seems that someone is trying to frame Barry for some reason. Even if it wasn't true, I had to find out. It wasn't right if I just denied it all. I guess I just want to help anyone in need in the name of good, even if it's someone like Barry. What a too-good try-hard. Well, I'm sorry, Juno. I still can't let you go through with it. I didn't think you would. Juno quickly turned around and pointed his pistol in Vela's face before she could react. Drop the gun, Vela. The two siblings stood before each other with pistols in each other's faces. Neither of them had any intentions of following what the other said. Lupus jumped to his feet and frantically paced around them. He was very worried, but he had no idea what to do. Both Vela and Juno glared into each other's eyes. Any sudden movement between them could provoke one or the other to pull the trigger. Lupus walked to them and whimpered, but neither person acknowledged Lupus. Lupus looked back and forth, wondering what to do. Suddenly, a faint roaring sound caught Lupus's attention. He looked up into the sky and began barking. Juno and Vela still had their guns in each other's face. Lupus barked at them, trying to get their attention, but they still did not move. The sound became louder enough for Juno and Vela to hear. Very slowly, they peeked up into the sky. There was a drone ship moving across the sky. Vela couldn't believe it. She uttered, that's the ship, the same one Barry snuck off in. Juno acknowledged Vela's words. He was certain of Barry's innocence. Juno reached into his pocket and pulled his fist back out. He held in it Vela's face as she still looked up into the sky. And pulled his fist out of his pocket. He held his fist at Vela's face. Got it, okay. Vela, look. Huh. Vela looked down at Juno's fist. Juno opened his fist, and inside was a flare already activated. The light temporarily blinded Vela. She grabbed her eyes and staggered backwards, while Juno immediately ran towards the mining mole's house. Vela quickly regained her sight. She saw Juno trying to get away. She pointed her pistol at him again. Stop, Juno! She yelled. Juno refused to cease. He ran as fast as he could toward the mole's house. Vela aimed her pistol at Juno and prepared to fire. Lupus hopped around in front of Vela, but she didn't pay attention to the concerned dog. The pistol beeped and targeted Juno. All that was left was for Vela to pull the trigger. As she did, Barry's voice popped into her mind. If you feed off that anger, Barry's voice echoed, you'll commit something you'll regret doing forever. Vela gasped briefly, but she tried to ignore it and took aim again. The voice came back. If you feed off that anger, you'll commit something you'll regret doing forever. Vela's eyes twitched as she tried to narrow them. Her teeth clenched, but her lips shook. Her arm was locked, but her hand quivered. She placed the other hand underneath the pistol to hold it steadily. The pistol beeped, and Juno was targeted again. If you feed off this anger. The same voice boomed through Vela's head. She still shook in her hands and eyes. The pistol vibrated due to Vela's uneasiness. The gun was unable to keep Juno on target. I have to stop him, Vela thought to herself. If you feed off this anger, Vela gasped again. Okay, even I'm starting to get angry at this echo. Gasped again, but tried to ignore it. If you feed off that anger, you'll commit something. Her pistol beeped. You'll commit something you'll regret. Her pistol beeped. Vela twitched even more. If you feed off that anger, you'll commit something you'll regret. Commit something you'll regret. Her pistol beeped. If you feed off that anger, you'll commit something you'll regret doing forever. Regret doing forever. You'll regret doing forever. Forever. Vela could not take any more. She threw the gun down and fell to her knees. Lupus came to her side, whimpering and wagging his tail. Vela stood on her hands and knees, gasping for air. I was like, she did a handstand? Vela said. I couldn't shoot him. I just can't shoot him. Lupus nudged and licked Vela's arm. Vela felt a little more comfortable. She lifted her hand and petted Lupus's head. Vela gave a weak smile. I guess I can't shoot my own brother, can I? Lupus licked Vela's cheek. Vela smiled a little more, but got up to her feet. Lupus looked up, confused. Still, we better find him before he gets himself in trouble. Helping Barry or not, those drones will kick Juno's ass. Lupus, let's split up. If you get into trouble, contact me. Or Hal, or something. Lupus barked affirmatively. Vela walked over to her pistol and picked it up. Soon the two Geminis jetted out in separate directions and disappeared into the thick bushes. Chapter 3. The drone's ship hovered past Fernando's hut and landed behind the mine. Fernando and Flopsy had just arrived at their hut after witnessing the drone ship flying by. Fernando immediately ran into the hut and searched for the mine key. Damn it! Where is it? Fernando screamed. He ran into the corner and frantically dug through the pile of specialist porn magazines until he found the mine key hidden underneath his human porn edition. What the fuck? There it is. He quickly grabbed the key and headed for the mine. Juno was already hiding behind nearby bushes, spying on the mole brother. Juno watched Fernando run toward the mine's door. Fernando inserted the mine key into a tiny opening in the rocky wall adjacent to the door. There were a few high-pitched beeps coming from the door, and a computerized voice soon responded. Mine key confirmed. Opening shaft. Come on, Flopsy, Fernando ordered his pet dog. The door slid open as Fernando and Flopsy hurried inside. Juno surmised that was where he'll find out more on what really happened with Barry. Vela said there was a tribal transformation pad in there, Juno said to himself. If I can get to that pad, Fernando won't expect me to be a Gemini, and then I could find out what he knows about Barry. Juno ran from the bushes and entered the mine before the door closed. The inside of the mine was dark, damp, and gloomy, but Juno was still determined to get to the bottom of the case. Fernando and Flopsy were already gone. Juno had no one to follow. He gazed around his surroundings, but there wasn't much to tell him where to go. Juno guessed, looks like I'm on my own this time. I hope I'm not too late. Juno withdrew his pistol and proceeded forward down the corridor. Vela was not too far behind, even though she had arrived at the mole's hut minutes later than Fernando. She observed the area and did not notice anything peculiar. Vela walked over to the hut and pounded on the wall. Fernando, hey, come out now. I got to talk to you. There was no answer. Vela walked in anyway. She was nearly overwhelmed by the devastating mess of magazines covering the floor. She picked one up and turned it onto its cover. Printed on the cover was a female teenage tribal in a two-piece bikini lying on a beach. Vela exclaimed. She threw down the porno magazine and walked back outside. She carefully observed the ground and noticed shoe prints in the dirt. She approached the shoe prints and closely examined the design of the shoe. She recognized the Jet Force insignia on it and glared at it. She knew Juno came by. Vela followed the shoe prints to the mine's door. She sighed. Why am I doing this? She took out the mine key that Fernando had given her a year ago and inserted the key into the same tiny opening in the wall. Mine key confirmed, the computerized voice spoke again. Opening shaft. The door opened up, and Vela walked inside the mine. She found nothing but darkness dwelling in the corners and water dampening the floors. She continued forward in search of Juno. Juno was lost in the mines. He didn't know which way to go. The elevators confused him even more. He didn't know which floor he was on, nor did he remember which way he came. Still, he progressed through the mine in search of Fernando. The room Juno found himself in was very huge. He stood on a rocky platform high above a darkened abyss. Juno swallowed his fear and kept progressing. Thanks to his luck, he found a pad marked with the image of a tribal. That must be it, Juno confirmed. That must be the tribal transformation pad. Juno stepped on the pad and relaxed his body. Slowly, his body began floating into the air. Sparkles of light circled his body. Juno closed his eyes and remained relaxed. Juno stopped floating when he reached 5 feet above the pad. A majestic light glowed from Juno's body and illuminated the entire room. For a brief second, the room was covered in nothing but bright white light. Afterwards, the light dimmed and Juno was being lowered back onto the pad. Juno opened his eyes and examined his body, which was then covered with white fur. His fingers and toes possessed pointy claws. The clothes he wore were then merely a pair of green shorts and a brown overcoat. It worked, Juno verified. I'm a tribal now. Let's see if I can find Fernando. Suddenly, Juno's big tribal ears heard a faint sound that he couldn't hear in his human form. The sound reminded him of a pickaxe being hammered into a rock. Juno quickly turned his head behind him toward the source of the sound, but he nearly tumbled over due to the extra weight of his head. Juno braced himself against the wall and tried to catch his breath. I'll have to get used to that, he joked. Juno ran for the source of the sound. He knew he was on the right track as the sound was getting louder. Eventually, he began hearing more than one begging noise coming from the same direction. Minutes passed before Juno finally arrived one room before the source of the sounds. Juno carefully sneaked into the next room. He saw up to 40 tribals performing manual labor under the supervision of drones. The drones were armed with simple handguns, but the tribals had nothing to oppose the drones. The tribals' age levels ranged from around 8 years to 50 years. Juno couldn't believe what he was witnessing. I thought we abolished all tribal slavery when we rescued the tribals and defeated Mizar. Juno pondered for a while, but the idea hits him quickly. Wait, weren't there some tribals who were kidnapped when Mizar struck again? These must be them. Hey, you! A drone caught Juno from behind. Juno turned around, but he was caught completely off guard. Juno decided not to retaliate until the element of surprise was his again. What do you think you're doing? The drone asked. Get your ass back to work. The drone shoved Juno with the gun. Juno staggered, but easily regained his balance. Juno answered, Yes, sir. Juno walked over to the wall and picked up a nearby pickaxe. He pretended to work hard, picking at the wall. The other tribals were doing the task assigned to them. 1/3 of the tribals axed the walls for more blue gems. When enough blue gems were found, another third of the tribals accumulated the gems into small mine carts. The last third of the tribals pushed the mine carts out of the room, and emptied the carts elsewhere. Juno watched the dreadful scene of tribal slavery and hoped there was a way to free the tribals from the drones. Juno also noticed another mole brother in the corner. The mole brother was sitting on a rock, gazing into the porno magazine in his hand. 2 drones carried a teenage male tribal over to the mole brother. The drones threw the tribal onto the floor. The boy was crying, dirty, bruised, and tired. One drone addressed the mole. This dirty little tribal was caught trying to escape. MC peered down on the tribal. Damn, it's a boy. The drones raised an eyebrow. Well, you said dirty, little tribal. The same drone addressed MC. I did not mean dirty as in a person of immoral sexual behavior. I meant dirty as in covered in soot. Hey, both ways would have been real good. Know what I'm saying? This fucking story. Honestly, sir, I believe you spend more time in those porno mags than your brother. Fernie? Well, I wouldn't if you would just share them with us from time to time. Sir, before I'm disgusted any further, what should we do with this tribal? Tried to escape, huh? He crossed his legs and read the magazine again. Kill him for all I care. Understood, sir. The drones began to carry the tribal off, but then a voice boomed into the room. Fishface screamed. The drone stopped and Fishface snatched the porno magazine from MC's hands. Say, man, MC exclaimed, what are you doing? First, I'm getting rid of your sick little pervert magazine. But that's really Fernie's magazine. I don't give a damn. Neither one of you should be looking at this shit. The second thing is to remind you that Moyer wanted the tribals alive. Oh, come on. Don't you want to have some fun? Fishface smacked MC on the backside of the head. MC screamed, what was that for? To knock some sense into your head. We need these tribals in order to keep business going. Do you want to go out of business? Alright, fine. Good. You two, Fishface, ordered the drones. Get that tribal back to work. Yes, sir, the drones saluted. Juno thought, they are the drones' true commanders. But I thought we destroyed every last one of those drones. How come they're back? Fishface walked away and MC reached behind the rock to pull out another porno magazine. He opened it up and returned to his pornographic parrot. What the fuck is this guy's obsession with this? Juno murmured. Fernando walked into the room, looking rather sad. Anyone seen that Juno guy yet? Fishface responded. Moyer's gonna be mad that you didn't kill him. I know. MC started. You said Vale was here too, right? Yeah, so? Well, I wouldn't mind seeing her again. What do you guys say? Anyone up for a quick bang up on Vela? What? This dude? Ugh. Juno quickly turned around and glared at the mole, while at the same time Fishface and Fernando screamed, "Shut up, MC." MC reacted. It doesn't explain how he reacted, it just says that he does. Fernando began, "I don't know about you guys, but I'm scared of Vela." The two other moles grew curious. I mean, yeah, she's fine and everything, but it's the way she frowns. It's like she's mad as hell and ready to go postal on the next person that messes with her. Fishface replied, "You're just a punk. That's why Juno's still alive out there somewhere. But me, I'm not scared of Vela. Sure, she has a sexy body and heavy arsenal, but when you get right down to it, she's just some little bitch in tight clothing. She shouldn't be a big threat to us. Let's not forget that she got her most powerful weapon from me. As a matter of fact, she owes me for letting her have that tri-rocket launcher. She even came bawling to me with her measly 3 gold bricks wanting me to give her that weapon. But that's how much you were selling it for." "Never mind that. In any case, Vela can't do anything to us, especially since she has no clue where we are. What can she possibly do?" "First, I'll blast you with that measly 3 gold brick worth gun," Vela's voice yelled from directly behind Fishface. "Then, I'll blast all of you with machine gun." Fishface's eyes widened. "Then, I'll chop up all these drones' heads and rescue the tribals. Now what?" Fishface turned around only to see the barrel of a tri-rocket launcher pointed directly at his face. Vela had her grip firmly on the weapon. Fernando was backing up while MC stood up shocked. MC wondered, "But how did you get in here?" She answered, "Fernando gave me the mine key a long time ago." Fishface turned to his brother. "You told us all that those tribals escaped." Fernando tried to laugh. "You see, Vela gave me a specialist magazine, and I repaid her with a copy of the mine key. Pretty funny, huh?" "You idiot! This is all your fault." Vela interrupted. "And did I mention that I hate being called a little bitch?" "So, what is it you want? Barry's not here if you're looking for him." "No, but his drones are. So there may be some truth to what Juno said, but I'm not buying it until I see Barry himself. Start talking. Where's Barry?" Fishface ordered, "We got a situation here." The drones swarmed around Vela and pointed their guns at her. Vela looked around, but she couldn't keep an eye on all of them at once. "What are you waiting for?" Fishface demanded. "Kill her, now!" "Yes, sir," the drones confirmed. Not so fast. Juno pointed his machine gun at the drones. The drones turned around to see one of the tribals with the machine gun pointed at them. "What the hell?" "What the?" Fishface yelled. "I thought we told you drones to inspect all the tribals for any weapons." "I'm not a tribal," Juno explained. "I'm Juno of Jet Force. I'm placing you all under arrest. Tell your drones to back up." Vela looked at the tribal. "Yeah, it's me, Vela. Don't worry, I found that tribal transformation pad you were talking about. Now let's show them what happens when they mess with the Jet Force." "Got ya, Juno." "I don't think so," Fishface assumed. "You're still outnumbered at a 10-to-1 ratio. Drones, get them." The drones fired their guns at Juno and Vela. Vela ducked beneath the drone's aim and rolled underneath one of the drones. Juno jumped out of the way and fired his machine gun at all the drones that attacked him. Most of Juno's drones were destroyed, while the drones that survived prepared to fire again. Vela's drones prepared to fire at her, but Vela leapt into the air and shot her tri-rocket launcher at the drones. The explosion blew up all but 3. Rainbow-colored blood spewed in all directions. "Taste the rainbow," Vela showed. Oh my god. Oh! It's so bad. The tribals were frightened and ran away in random directions. Vela landed on the ground and pointed her gun at the last 3 of her drones. The drones threw their guns away and held up their arms. "I give up," one of the drones yelled. "I was only doing my job," another one explained. "I don't even like this anymore," the third one said. "You cowards," Fishface yelled. Juno's drones tried to charge at him, but Juno still fired his machine gun. The drones were defeated easily. Juno thrusted his machine gun at the moles. "It's all over, Mole Brothers." "That's right," Vela verified. "Give it up." "Hold up," MC suggested. "Can't we make a deal here?" "Hell no," Vela responded. "Come on, Vela. A hot little girl shouldn't be caught up in all this police work." Vela glared at MC as he was beginning to approach her. She said, "Stay away from me." "Come on, Vela," MC flirted. "I know you don't like it here, especially with your brother. Now, come on." MC was right in front of Vela. "You can either waste your time being a Gemini, or you can come with me, and we'll have a great time together. Come on, what do you say?" Vela still glared at him, but MC held his sly smile. In a few seconds, Vela developed a sly smile on her face, too. MC began to stroke Vela's cheek. That's what I'm talking about. MC humped over from sudden extreme pain. His eyes bulged from their sockets. He couldn't breathe. His brothers jumped in surprise. The drones leaned back. Juno turned his head around and covered his eyes. Vela still had her sly smile on her face. MC hacked as he tried to move, but couldn't. But MC breathed. It's for your own good, Vela spoke to him. She then removed her foot from his crotch and watched MC tumble over onto the ground. The drones said... It doesn't say anything after the drones said. It just says, the drones said. And then, anyone else want to try me? Vela randomly pointed her gun at the drones and the moles. The moles and drones were scared stiff, but someone did respond. I'll be glad to try you. Moyer's voice entered the room. Velo and Juno said simultaneously. Apparently nothing. Again, it's just like... It says that they said something, but doesn't say what they said. Anyway. On the other side of the room was Moyer coming in, dragging something behind him. Vela pointed her tri-rocket launcher at Moyer, while Juno kept his machine gun aimed at the drones and the moles. As Moyer came into the light, Vela was surprised. What? Another mole brother? That's right, Moyer confirmed. I'm another mole brother. Moyer continued walking into the room. In his hand was a tribal tied up in rope. That's Barry, Juno screamed, recognizing the tribal. Barry was out cold. His body was dragged along the rocky floor. Moyer had no care of Barry's condition. So you're the one behind all this, Vela declared. Stop right now and release Barry. Moyer proceeded to the center of the room and stopped. He took a bow and smiled. Welcome, Jet Force, welcome. I am Moyer, and I am the one who runs the Mole Brothers mining business. I am the eldest of my siblings, and He is the eldest of his siblings and himself. I guess that makes... Anyway. It does me great pleasure to finally meet you. Cut the crap, Vela demanded. Oh dear, did I upset you? I'm sorry. You know, I'm quite amazed that you guys actually believed Barry's story. I didn't think anyone would have the care to believe an ex-tyrant, let alone such a ridiculous story. I was certain my prosecution was perfect since Barry was found guilty. Vela wondered why the mole was beginning to look familiar. Wait, you're the mole who prosecuted Barry. Juno bulked his eyes, but then he glanced at Moyer and recognized him too. He sure is. Moyer affirmed, I knew it wouldn't be long before you guys recognized me. Vela growled and aimed her gun at Moyer. Drop Barry and remove any weapons you have. Now. Well, I would, but I don't want to upset my little friend. Little friend? What little friend? Moyer grinned evilly and laughed under his breath. Vela and Juno still held their weapons at their targets. Vela still wondered what Moyer meant. She did not notice anything until a speeding bullet knocked her gun away from her hands. Vela screamed. Juno looked back. Suddenly his gun was shot out of his hands as well. The Gemini siblings turned around to the source of the shots and found a flying android there, its propeller on top, its frowning eyes, and its gun barrels directly beneath its eyes easily made it easy to recognize the android. Really good wording there. Vela and Juno presumed. Floyd responded. This dude, I guess when he was writing this, he was like, I'll just say that they're going to say something here and I'll go back and write the dialogue, and then never actually did. I guess it's good because it makes the story shorter. Vela and Juno immediately reached into their pockets for their pistols and aimed their guns at Floyd. However, as soon as Juno and Vela had their guns, they each heard multiple tri-rocket launchers being reloaded. They turned their heads around and saw each mole brother with the tri-rocket launcher pointed at them, even MC, who was still on the floor comforting the pain. I suggest you drop your weapons, Geminis, Moyer anticipated. Vela and Juno did not have a choice. They dropped their pistols and raised their arms into the air. Moyer motioned Juno to step over to Vela. The mole set Juno and Vela in one spot so that they may keep an eye on him. MC got to his feet and limped over to Fishface and Fernando. Moyer gratified, but we better search them and take all of their other weapons away. I get Vela, claimed all three of the other moles. The three then glared at each other. What do you mean you got Vela? MC yelled. I have her. Yeah, right, Fernando joked. I'd love to see you get kicked in the nuts again. Fishface explicated. You two are so perverted that you don't even deserve a chance to search Vela. MC turned to Fishface. And what makes you so perfect to be able to search her? Because I'm not perverted like you two losers. Admit it, you're in it for the lust just like we are. I feel like this author is really obsessing over Vela, and it's starting to make me, I don't know, either irritated or just kind of sick feeling. Okay, so while they bickered, Vela was trying to inconspicuously reach for another weapon in her uniform. Her hand almost got to her pocket, but Floyd flew closer to her. She swore and raised her arms again. Moyer couldn't take any more ignorance. Shut up, all of you. The three moles looked at Moyer. I'll search Vela. Moyer finished their argument. You idiots will search Juno. Fernando declared, That's not fair. How come you get to search her? First of all, I don't care for girls. Second of all, you idiots can't be trusted to find every weapon she has because you'll be too distracted trying to enjoy yourselves. Now search Juno. The three younger brothers hung their hands and arms down in depression. They whimpered to themselves as they walked over to Juno. Moyer shook his head in shame. Ooh, the font changes to a different one, and the size is different, so I guess he took a break before writing this next part, because it goes from like Times New Roman to Arial and like half size. That's weird. Anyway, a little later in the same room, Vela and Juno were tied up together. They sat on the floor with their backs against each other. Their weapons were laid in the corner of the room. Barry was on the floor next to Vela and Juno. He was regaining consciousness. Soon the tribals were being brought into the same room by the drones. The last pair of tribals were escorted past Moyer. Is that all of the tribals? Moyer asked. That's all of them, the drone answered. Excellent. I'm going to tell the other drones to commence with Operation Avalanche. Understood, sir. Do you remember your stations? Yes, sir. We have not forgotten. Good. You may proceed. Thank you, sir. Yeah, whatever. That's way too much consecutive dialogue. Poor story writing. Vale and Juno looked confused as they tried to figure out what Moyer meant by Operation Avalanche. Barry tried to sit up straight, but the sound of a computer beep warned Barry not to make any sudden movements. Barry looked up to see Floyd aiming his gun barrels at him. Floyd? Barry asked. I am not Floyd. What, Floyd? Don't you remember me? There's no use for that, Moyer boasted. He won't remember you. What did you do to Floyd? Barry asked. It's very simple. I found Floyd's body parts in space and decided to rebuild them. Improvements were made to ensure loyalty to me. Unlike your careless actions, I've blocked Floyd's personality. He will only respond to either my voice or this remote control that I've created. Moyer reached into his pocket and pulled out a small controller the size of his palm. See? This thing will let me control Floyd from a distance, just like I did Mizar. Vale and Juno perked their heads up at Moyer. They were at most surprised. I think he meant to say utmost. Huh. You controlled Mizar by remote? Vela screamed. That's right, I did. It was very easy as well. Moyer turned to Fishface. Fishface, go order the other drones to commence with Operation Avalanche. Sure thing, Moyer, Fishface affirmed and left. Just what is this Operation Avalanche? Juno asked. I may as well tell you, Moyer gloated. It's not like you'll be able to tell anyone about it. I was prepared if anyone found out about us, so I've also designed power explosives in precise areas of the mine. I'm going to destroy this mine, you, the tribals, and the drones, to make sure that no one can trace us back to us. All of the tribals gasped and grew more terrified than ever. Some tribals searched around for any way to escape. Some found an exit within a few feet. They tried to run in that direction, but Floyd fired his shots directly in front of the tribals' feet. Floyd flew around in front of the tribals and shoved them back with the others. You can't do this, Juno protested. Besides, I thought you needed the tribals to keep your business running. I've already thought about that, Moyer explained. There are more valuable gems located on Gem Quarry. There's also a much bigger mine there. Yes, it's already owned by some tribals, but we'll fix that once we arrive there. Vela was enraged at this information. You bastard. Bastard? Well, at least I'll be an alive bastard rather than a dead bitch. Ooh. Witty comeback there. Stop calling me a bitch, Vela screamed out of the top of her lungs. Hey, it doesn't matter what you are. Floyd will remain here watching your every move. Don't dare try anything if you want to live any longer. Moyer, Fishface returned. The drones are in their locations and ready to activate the bombs. Great. Tell them to set it for 10 minutes and I'll deactivate the drones after the bombs are fused. Sure thing. Fishface left again. Good. Moyer, Barry got his words in. I'll get you for this. I swear I'll get you for this. That's a little unlikely, don't you think? Someone will figure it out. After I die, someone will find out about it, and you'll be sorry then. I really don't think so. My brain is superior to yours and anyone else. You were a fool, Barry. Your defeat was based on your failures. See how easily I am dealing with my problem? Unlike you who let these same Geminis run freely to ruin your ideal. You see? I will not fail. My brothers and I will create a new business on Gem Quarry. There's nothing you can do about it. You have 10 minutes left to think about that before you admit it to yourself. I'd prepare your farewells to each other if I were you. You are no longer a part of life. Alright, Moyer, Fishface came back in. The bombs are activated, but the drones are trying to leave. Then that's my cue. Moyer took out another remote control and pushed one of the buttons on it. Meanwhile, the drones in multiple locations suddenly felt weak. They tried to keep progressing, but it was like tugging a boat that being loaded with cargo every second. Forgot a word there. And they couldn't step forward anymore. The drones instantly fell down. They laid motionless on the floor, as silent as dead bodies, probably because they were dead bodies. Back in the room with Moyer, he was ready to leave with his brothers, but Barry got curious. Hey, Barry asked, wait a minute. How can you deactivate drones like that? They're bio-androids. Huh, Moyer joked. You fool. Haven't you realized by now that the drones I've created are part machine? I guess so. Weren't the ones that Barry made if they're bio-androids? I wanted to have a bit more loyal subjects than the drones you created. I heard about your drones giving up when times were dire. Yes, I admit that my drones have done the same thing, but they're part machine and not full machines. The flaw in them is the will to think for themselves. But Floyd here has no personality. He's far better than these pathetic drones. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must get out of here. Give my regards to Hell when you get there. Moyer, MC, Fishface, Fernando, and Flopsy rushed out of the room as fast as they can. Barry lost all of the hope he had left. Bela struggled to break free from the rope, but she couldn't get free. Juno shut his eyes and clenched his teeth as he tried desperately to come up with a plan. The tribals held each other closely and murmured things to each other. Time ran down, and not one person knew what to do.
What is it, Bert? Do you want to read some? What?
No, Bert. That was a nice piece of cake, bro, MC gratified. Shut up, Moyer shot back, and just head for this ship. The Mole brothers were exiting the mines. Lupus was hiding in some bushes as they came running by. I'm gonna miss Velo, though, MC continued. She was one fine. Will you shut up already? Moyer screamed. We need to head back to the drone ship and then ditch it. Ditch it? Yes, do you want to get caught in space? We're gonna ditch it next to our ship and fly out of here using our ship. Oh, okay. The Mole brothers continued in their direction, but Lupus heard everything they talked about when they passed him. He leapt from the bushes and headed into the mine where the door was still open. Vela was tired of struggling, and Juno had not thought of a plan yet. Barry was setting up the best he could. He looked around and saw no way of escaping. He saw the tribals shivering in their clothes and Floyd watching all of them. Barry looked back at Vela. She looked angry as usual, but she didn't know what to do either. Suddenly her frown dropped and her eyes closed. I'm sorry, guys, she said. Huh? Juno and Barry perked their heads up at her. I was careless. I just kept believing Barry was guilty and didn't take things into precaution. This is my fault. No, it isn't, Barry insisted. Moyer had this whole thing planned from the time you defeated me. What? The Geminis asked simultaneously. Oh my god, this is a really long bit of dialogue. That's right. He told me his whole plan like some evil genius while I was in his ship. The mole's business was going down because they relied on the tribals to do their dirty work. Once Vela came and rescued them, they didn't have anyone to do the work for them. Their business exponentially fell, but Neuer knew it would happen. He was already a lawyer by then, but he did his own family business. He planned to use Mizar as a cover-up plan to kidnap more tribals, so he rebuilt Mizar and the drones. He managed to do all of this in a year. I can't believe he did. Since I was sentenced to Rithessa, Fernando had a perfect watch over me, so Moyer planned to use me when the Mizar incident took place. They locked me up in Mizar, and Moyer somehow controlled Mizar by remote. He seems to be better at mechanics than I am. I'll get him for that. He also planned this escape plan. He did this just in case anyone found out. He planned to destroy me, the tribals, the drones, all of his evidence, and the ones who got too close to finding out his plan. After that, they're going to settle their new mining business on Gem Quarry. We have to do something. There is nothing you can do, Floyd protested. Floyd, try to remember me. I'm Barry. I'm the one who originally made you. I have no memory of you in my databanks. You are merely an enemy of Moyer's and must be destroyed. Come on, Floyd. You have a personality, and Moyer's trying to block it. You can overcome it. I repeat, I am not Floyd. Floyd sensed an upcoming presence. He looked up, trying to determine who was coming. He beeped a few times and aimed his guns at the hallway. Lupus was sniffing the trail in front of him. Soon he found the scent of Vela and jerked his head up. After confirming it, he howled and ran even further down the hallway. Stop where you are, Floyd yelled down the hallway. Floyd fired a few shots at Lupus, but Lupus saw them coming and leapt over them. Lupus came down on the floor where the others were, and their faces were enlightened. Lupus, Vela and Juno called to him. Floyd fired again, and Lupus jumped out of the way again. Lupus fired his pistol at Floyd. Floyd was hit, and his Floyd parts were separated again. He lost his propeller and his two gun barrels. Floyd fell to the floor as electricity sparked from his body. Great, Lupus, Juno thanked the dog. Now come over and shoot these ropes off. No, Vela disagreed. That would take too long. Come over here and shoot through the ropes. Everyone was shocked by Vela's words, but Lupus ran over and positioned his pistol parallel to Vela's side. He pointed the barrel of his pistol at the rope, but not at Vela. He fired the pistol and the rope tore apart. Vela and Juno quickly unraveled their way out of the rope. Good, Lupus, Vela said. Now get Barry out. Hey, Barry disagreed. I don't want to get shot. Just shut up, Barry. Lupus isn't going to shoot you. Barry shut his eyes as Lupus came over to free him. He didn't make much movement other than he was shivering. He clenched his teeth and expected the worst to happen. He heard a loud pistol shot, but didn't feel anything. Huh? He checked the rope and it was torn on one side. Lupus ran back to Vela and Juno as they were getting their weapons off the floor. Come on, Vela ordered. We better get out of here now. Barry was getting out of the rope. Yeah, I'm coming. Hold on. Wait, Juno insisted. What, Juno? Vela questioned. I need to get back to that tribal transformation pad. I'm not staying like this forever. Little does he know, if you warp out of the level, you'll immediately turn back into a human. Apparently he didn't play his own game. Womp womp. Juno, this mine is going to explode and collapse at any moment. We need to get out of here. I know. Look, you guys go on ahead. I'll catch up. What? I'll make it. Trust me, Vela. Vela growled at him, but Juno already took off toward the tribal transformation pad. She calmed her nerves and yelled back to him. Wait. Juno stopped and looked back. Vela turned to Lupus. Go with him. Get him out if it starts to take too long. Lupus barked and ran over to Juno. Juno nodded to Vela and ran out of the room. Come on, tribals, Vela ordered. We're getting out of here. Vela led the way, followed by Barry and the other tribals. Juno and Lupus scrambled through the mine as fast as they could get to the tribal transformation pad. Meanwhile, the moles have reached their destination. They entered the drone ship and prepared to launch. Moyer sat in the cockpit. Okay, guys, Moyer spoke. We're going to head towards our ship. Then we're getting out of here. The drone ship's engine hummed loudly. Bushes were blown all around. The drone ship lifted off the ground and turned towards the mole's desired direction. Once the ship was above the tall trees, it sped away into the atmosphere. Minutes have passed. Vela and the tribals found the front door of the mines. Vela inserted her mine key again, and the computer confirmed it opening the door. Vela left the key in the keyhole to keep the door open for Juno and Lupus. The tribals rushed out and got as far away as they could from the mine, but Barry and Vela turned their heads back at the mine, waiting for the remaining Geminis to escape. They shot looks of worry back at each other. Don't worry, Vela, Barry told Vela. Juno's going to make it out. Vela kept silent and looked back towards the mine. They both knew time was against them, and Juno and Lupus seemed to be the ones who would take the fall. Juno was already at the tribal transformation pad and was in the process of becoming human again. Lupus frantically hopped around the pad waiting for Juno to finish. Juno's body returned to normal and was lowered back to the floor. Lupus was still anxious to get out of the mine. Juno touched the floor and opened his eyes. He looked at his hands and saw his human hands were back. He felt Lupus tugging on his pants. Easy there. Juno got the idea and let Lupus lead him to the exit. They ran back through the room the tribals were in and headed through the way Lupus came in. Vela had enough waiting. I'm going in. She charged for the entrance, but Barry grabbed her arm before she could get any closer. Are you crazy? We don't need another Gemini to worry about. Can it, Barry? Barry jumped back and let go of Vela's arm. Vela ran for the entrance, but suddenly she saw someone in the mine trying to get out. Juno, she screamed happily. Juno, come on. Lupus saw the light ahead of them, and Juno followed the dog. As they drew nearer and nearer, Vela motioned them to hurry faster and faster. In no time at all, multiple explosions sounded off before Lupus and Juno made it out. A dark sandstorm of dust and soot roared out of the mine and covered Vela and Barry. Vela and Barry coughed uncontrollably from inhaling the dirt, but Lupus and Juno could not be seen. The ground shook intensely. Louder the blasts grew. The mine was engulfed in a barrage of fire and rubble. The mine began to collapse into the ground immediately. A hole formed in the center of the mine. As the hole collected more rocks and fire, it increased in diameter per second. Mine carts were sucked into the abyss. Mine tracks broke apart and were devoured by the darkness beneath them. Vela and Barry covered themselves against the wind and rocks blowing towards them. Barry rubbed the dirt from his eyes and tried to look at the mine. His ears heard the intense danger approaching. He felt the ground being ripped from underneath him. Vela, we have to get out of here, Barry demanded. Not without Juno and Lupus, she shot back. Vela braced her feet against the ground. Cracks formed in the ground, and Vela felt herself fall a few inches. Vela, Barry yelled back. Vela pressed onward. She entered the mine and climbed over the rubble in front of her. Barry threw away his sense to stay behind and joined Vela. They both crawled over the rocks and boulders in their way. In the distance they saw Juno trying to dig through a pile of rocks before him. Juno's uniform was torn. His skin was scarred, but it spelled scared. He had scared skin. His helmet was bashed in, and the visor on his helmet was cracked. The loud rumbling noise behind Juno kept him from hearing Vela's voice call him. Juno hadn't noticed his sister until she was nearly in his face. He looked up at Vela's face as she was trying to motion him to leave. Juno shook his head and screamed from the top of his lungs so Vela could hear. Lupus is under here. Vela was shocked, but also knew she couldn't waste time thinking about it. She grabbed the rocks and forced them off of Lupus. As Barry approached, he figured Lupus was buried underneath the rocks. He instantly helped out. Vela, Juno, and Barry tripled the time it would have taken for Juno to free Lupus. So they made it 3 times slower? Yeah. The way that it's worded is that it's not 3 times slower than Juno doing it by himself. The floor still shook, and the expanding void of darkness was still approaching. I see him, Barry declared. Vela, Juno, and Barry desperately hurried to throw rocks off of their friend. They could see that Lupus was badly injured. The earthquake briefly shook harder, throwing Juno, Vela, and Barry into the walls. Some of the rubble that was stacked higher began to roll down towards Lupus. Barry was the first to shake off the pain. He looked up and saw that the rubble about to tumble over. He stepped in front of the pile of rocks and pushed his weight against it, preventing it from falling. Hurry up, Barry screamed at Juno and Vela. Vela and Juno resumed to rescuing Lupus. Lupus was covered in dirt all over his body. His pistol was destroyed as its pieces laid on the floor. Blood streamed across Lupus's body. His eyes were shut and his teeth were clenched. The rubble was finally off of Lupus, and Juno lifted him up. I'm sorry, Lupus, Juno apologized. I'll get you out of here. Vela and Juno were stepping over the boulders and heading toward the exit. Barry jumped away from the pile of rocks he was holding back. He dusted himself off and was about to follow Vela and Juno, but his ears detected a different incoming threat. He looked back over the pile and was terrified. Juno and Vela looked back to tell Barry to move, but they soon saw what frightened Barry. Each of them witnessed the ruin beyond them crumble and fall into vast nothingness below. Vela, Juno, and Barry slowly gasped to themselves. Let's get out of here, they all screamed. They ran over the rocks in their path toward the entrance of the mine. The darkness behind them followed as it swallowed anything in its way. Vela was the first to get out. She stood outside, catching her breath, and waited for Juno to come out with Lupus. Juno got to the last boulder and leapt out of the mine, but he didn't stop running. Vela was preparing to run with Juno, but she kept motioning Barry to hurry. Barry climbed over the last boulder and jumped out. With that, Vela grabbed the Tribal's wrist and tugged him along with her. They all ran away from the mine as fast as their feet would go. In seconds, the entrance of the mine was also overtaken by the huge emptiness, but the danger continued. It spread for a few meters and took the bushes, trees, and grass along with the rest of the destruction. It finally stopped. Vela, Juno, and Barry could see the Tribals ahead. None of them looked back until they were all reunited. Soon, everyone looked back at the danger they escaped. All they could see was an enormous dust cloud forming above where the mine used to be. The cloud slowly emerged to the sky and spreaded around the huge pit. We made it, Barry said happily. Juno looked very sad as he looked down at Lupus in his arms. Barry turned around wondering why no one else was happy. He found everyone's attention focused on Lupus and felt sorry that he nearly forgot. Let me see him, Juno, Barry insisted. Juno lowered Lupus down to Barry, and Barry inspected the fallen dog. He checked Lupus's limbs and his head. Barry lightly touched Lupus's face. Lupus whimpered a little and his lips moved a bit. Juno, listen, Barry demanded. Lupus will survive if he gets immediate attention right now. It seems a little redundant. I'll take him back on my ship, Vela insisted. She went to carry Lupus back to her ship, but Juno disagreed. No. What? Vela snapped. I'll take Lupus back. You go after Moyer. What? Juno, my ship is closer than yours. I know, Vela, but this is my fault that Lupus is in this condition. Besides, you landed your ship somewhere in the middle of the jungle, right? So? The jungle bushes, trees, and stuff would slow us down. I'll take Lupus back safely. Juno. And one more thing. What's that? Don't you want to go after Mizar? Huh? I'm confused by who's supposed to be talking at this point. Vela didn't know what Juno was talking about, and neither does the reader. Look, I'm sorry you hate me because I beat Mizar and you didn't. Well, now's your chance. He's on his way to Jim Corey this very moment. I know I can't make up for what happened a year ago, but I can say that I won't deny you a chance to prove yourself. You can do it, Vela. Your ship is closer, so you'll have no problem getting there in time. You have to stop him. This is your chance. Vela thought about what Juno said. They stared at each other for a while. Vela shook her head and spoke back to Juno. Lupus doesn't have time for us to argue. You just make sure that you get him fixed up, okay? Okay. Fine, then I'll go after Moyer. Vela left for her ship, but Barry ran after her. Wait, I'm coming too. Go away, Barry, Vela ordered. No way, I have a stake in this too. The two bickered back and forth on their way to Vela's ship. Juno ran straight for his ship and yelled back to the tribals. Just stay where you are. I'll call for a rescue crew as soon as I'm in space. The tribals were left with no other choice. They remained in their spots. Chapter 4. Okay. The drone ship was already parked beside the mole ship. The mole brothers entered the ship and began to launch. Meanwhile, Vela and Barry still argued. Barry, go back to the other tribals. No, Vela, I'm coming. Easy there, Barry. Do you think I'm gonna let him get away with that? Hell no. Look, Barry, I know I was wrong about you before, and I'm sorry, but don't think that I'm gonna give you a little joyride. Which is exactly what Barry's looking for, if you catch my drift. Vela, you totally don't understand. He used me. I was nothing but a puppet to him, and he framed me. He prosecuted me. He made sure I was imprisoned. He made sure I took the fall for his crime. He tried to kill me. I was up to my face in tears the whole damn time. I felt used, betrayed, depressed, and dead inside. It was all his fault. Do you think I'm going to sit here and watch him get his way? Don't you think I want to see him go down just as much as you do? Vela didn't say another word. She understood Barry's intentions well, but didn't want to show mercy. Just shut up and follow me, she snapped. They dashed through the jungle, trees and bushes. Branches, boulders, and other bushes were in their way. They had to either go around them or knock them out of the way. Glad that description of how they had to navigate the trees and bushes was in there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known that they either had to go around them or knock them out of the way. With the drone ship evacuated, the mole ship was taking off. The ship began flying over Rithessa and prepared to head for space. MC looked down and noticed a different ship that was a little close to the drone ship. Yo, look, ain't that Vela's ship? Fernando peeked down and saw it too. Yeah, that is Vela's ship. Get out of my way, bro. What? MC took a tri-rocket launcher in his hand and opened one of the doors. He pointed his tri-rocket launcher at Vela's ship. MC, Fernando asked, the hell do you think you're doing? I still think Vela's pretty and all, but she still needs to pay for kicking me in the groin. MC, Vela's already dead. There's no need for that. I don't care. This is my farewell to her on their way to hell. MC fired the tri-rocket launcher at Vela's ship. Vela and Barry were approaching when Barry heard something headed their way. He looked up and saw the mole's ship, but he also saw the tri-rocket headed for Vela's ship. Vela, Barry pointed in the air, warning Vela. Vela looked up and saw the tri-rockets as well. Get down! She shoved Barry onto the ground, and the rockets made impact with Vela's ship. The ship was annihilated in the explosion. Parts of the ship flew everywhere. Vela and Barry were on the ground, avoiding the blast, but Vela didn't have a ship anymore. She stood up and examined the destruction. Damn them, Vela swore. Why the hell did they have to do that? Damn, Barry joined Vela. Now we'll never get them. Barry looked toward the horizon. The sunshine was reflecting off of something in the distance. Barry pondered what it could be, but didn't figure it out. Vela, there's something over there. What? She looked toward where Barry was looking at. She didn't know what was over there either. Come on, Vela, let's check it out. Barry ran off ahead of Vela. She soon ran with him. Together they discovered the abandoned drone ship. Barry stated his theory. They must be trying to ditch it so no one would find out it's their ship. I bet we can use this thing to catch up with them. What? Come on, Vela. You want to catch them, right? If you don't know how to fly it, I will. Alright, fine. Let's just hurry before those moles get away. Juno made it to his ship. He failed to find a comfortable spot for Lupus on the ship. He sat in his pilot seat, and Lupus sat in his lap. Juno's ship launched off the ground and headed for the atmosphere. Soon they were in outer space. Communication to Jet Force was accessible to Juno now that he made it off of Rithessa. He immediately opened up telecommunication to Jet Force. Attention Jet Force, this is Juno. I have a code red, code R, and a code X. Barry was innocent of the Mizar incident the whole time, and the real suspects have launched from Rithessa, planning to make their way towards Jim Quarry. They are identified as the Mole Brothers, and they are well armed. They were using the kidnapped tribals for their dirty work, and I request assistance on picking them up from Rithessa. Lupus has been seriously hurt, and I have him with me. I need medical attention for Lupus as quickly as possible. Vale is currently on pursuit of the suspects. I repeat, request backup immediately. Jet Force was contacted. The patrol units raced towards Rithessa and Jim Quarry in pursuit of the moles. The mole ship has already left Rithessa, and it's making its way toward Jim Quarry. Vela sat in the pilot seat of the drone ship. She inspected the controls and grew comfortable with them. Think you can fly this thing? Barry asked. Of course I can, Vela responded. Now just sit back and watch me catch those moles. The drone ship's engine roared loudly as it set off for outer space. Barry was surprised, but he took his seat in the co-pilot's seat. The ship lifted off the ground. Here we go, Vela confirmed. The drone ship turned to the direction the moles went and sped away into the atmosphere. Vela couldn't believe the speed at which the ship was going. Dang, this is fast. This is faster than the Jet Force ships. Barry growled. Moyer thinks he can do better than me at anything I do. More powerful Mizar, faster ships. He's going down. I think this ship can travel faster than his. I'm getting this thing on full speed. Barry gulped. Are you sure you want to do that? Can it, Barry? I'm catching those moles. Yeah, but I don't want you to kill me just trying to catch the moles. Vela increased the speed of the ship. Barry couldn't brace himself against the speed. He was slammed into the back of his chair, but Vela managed to lean against the force of the immense speed. Barry barely looked over and saw her resisting the pressure. How is she doing that? Barry thought to himself. That's impossible for a human. Barry noticed the fierceness in her eyes. He saw that determination he had never seen in anyone before. I guess this is what defeated me back then. I've never imagined someone this eager to take someone down. Maybe this is what Juno meant by her being so outgoing. Barry turned his head back toward the front and smiled. Having such a rare trait must be wonderful. Down through all of that anger, Vela exhilarates lies. What? Down through all of that anger, Vela exhilarates lies. Someone who really knows that she can accomplish what she sets her mind to. Like the middle of that sentence made no sense. She shouldn't care for her brother and Lupus. Barry laughed quietly to himself, and with all of his determination within her, no one is safe. The drone ship continued to rocket through space. At the same time, the moles were enjoying the new life that awaited them on Jim Quarry. Listen up, brothers, Moyer announced. If we continue this pace, we'll arrive at Jim Quarry in 9 hours. That's great, Fishface thanked Moyer. At last, no worries about Jet Force. Flopsy could have all the tribal she can eat, Fernando suggested. Flopsy barked affirmatively. Yeah, MC stated. And I get to start my new rap CD, know what I'm saying? It's a shame to have all of his talent go to waste. I can start my own little business producing my own record labels, and holy shit, Moyer blasphemed, interrupting MC. What's up now, Moyer? There's a new Jet Force patrol ship. There's a few Jet Force patrol ships heading ahead of us. Yeah, but what's the big deal? You said they can't figure out it's us. But they're closing in on us, that's the problem. What? The other mole screamed. The mole ship slowed down until it stopped completely. The Jet Force ship surrounded the mole's ship. One of the officers came onto the main screen of the mole ship. You, the officer spoke. The Mole Brothers. Is there a problem, Jet Force? Moyer replied calmly. You are in charge of framing Barry the Tribal and are under arrest. Lay down your weapons and surrender yourselves. What? Moyer declared. We didn't do that. I will not tell you again. Throw down your weapons and surrender. I'm telling you, we don't know a thing that you're talking about. We're just on our way to start a new business. Now, let us pass. The officer spoke to the other Jet Force members, but the moles can still see and hear them on screen. The suspects are resisting arrest. Prepare apprehension. The moles jerked back in their seats. They were all shocked and worried. Let's lose 'em, Moyer, MC insisted. Good idea for once, Moyer replied. Moyer set the ship's thrusters on full and tried to speed their way out of there. The mole ship flew through a gap between the two jet force ships. Yeah, MC showed his enthusiasm. Ditch 'em. The mole ship attempted to escape, but more jet force ships came in front of them. The chief's ship was among the new coming ships. The mole ship. So many instances of the word ship. The mole ship tried to turn around, but the ships they tried to ditch before had flown behind them. Damn, Moyer lost his confidence. MC, however, had a different reaction. Oh no, MC threw himself into a crying outburst. He threw his arms and legs around in the seat and wept with all of his might. No, God, no, I can't go to jail. MC's mouth wouldn't close and tears rushed down his face. Do you know how hard it is for rap artists and DJs to make money when everyone knows they did some time? No, this can't be happening. My rap career is ruined. This guy's apparently never looked at the career of a rap artist or DJ. Whatever. Get a hold of yourself, MC, Moyer screamed. But MC sniffled. What can we do now? Fishface and Fernando exchanged looks of worry. What are we gonna do, Moyer? Fernando turned to Moyer. There's only one thing I have left, he answered. Moyer reached in his pocket and pulled out another remote control. He pressed the button on it and sat back in the chair, awaiting his plan to take action. Within one of the two moons of Rithessa, two red eyes opened widely in the immense darkness. Its arms were folded and its forelegs were stationed close to its body. Suddenly, its insect-like wings fluttered, and the huge figure rose from the crater it sat in. With the help from the light, it was clearly another Mizar. The creation launched itself off the moon's surface and sped into the depths of outer space. Vela had lowered the speed of the drone ship, but Sheenberry hadn't caught up to anyone yet. Damn, Vela grew impatient. Those moles couldn't have flown that far. Relax, Vela, Barry calmed. We'll find them sooner or later. I hope so. Something began beeping on the radar. Vela examined it, and the radar detected a large object racing towards them from behind. Vela shot a look at Barry, but Barry couldn't determine what it was either. How can something move faster than how fast we're traveling right now? Vela and Barry looked at the radar again. They saw that the object would pass them on the left side. They peered at the window to look at what was passing them. As the figure passed, Vale and Barry were shocked at what they just saw. Mizar? They both hollered. The new Mizar flew past the drone ship until the radar couldn't pick it up anymore. Vale and Barry couldn't say anything for a while. Barry was the first to speak as he finally gathered what he wanted to say. Moyer must have created another Mizar. But how? I don't like this, Vela. This is far more worse than we've imagined. What do you mean? Moyer created all of his stuff within a year, whereas it took me a full year just to create one Mizar. This guy can build and construct much, much faster than I can. Not only has he made what I made, but he's also improved it. He made it much better than I did. What's your point? I don't think Moyer has truly been inside Mizar. What I mean by that is that he hasn't experienced the type of program installed in Mizar's computer system. It's designed to make its user feel the power and capabilities of Mizar. It's like a virtual reality video game, except that you can literally feel some part of being Mizar. The program is also designed as a ruthless, merciless attacker. The system inside Mizar is evil. If Moyer feels that power-hungry Mizar system, he might just become Mizar himself. He might just try to rebuild a new empire for his own selfish gain. We can't let that happen again. Vela comprehended what Barry told her. She turned forward in her seat again and smirked. So, Mizar is the sign of evil. That's right, Vela. With his capabilities, Mizar can plague the galaxy just like I did. But I still don't understand how Mizar flew that fast. It's probably a new improvement. I wouldn't worry too much, though. I don't think anyone inside would survive at that speed. Moyer must be controlling it by remote again. He might be trying some kind of getaway. If he escapes, but stays outside Mizar, we'll eventually catch up to him. If he goes inside Mizar, he wouldn't handle that much speed, so we'll catch up to him anyway. Then we shouldn't waste any more time. Let's go. Moyer sat with his arms folded while the other Mole brothers were trying to think of a way out of the situation. Moyer, Fernando called. Come on, help us. It's too late for you, Moyer shot back. Huh? The Jet Force ships approached the Mole's ship, but suddenly the Jet Force radars detected Mizar coming in quickly. Mizar rammed into a few of the Jet Force ships and stopped right next to the Mole's ship. What the? The chief was surprised. Shoot down that Mizar. Jet Force's shots made no effect against it. Mizar opened up its chest compartment. Moyer floated towards the door Mizar was next to. Yes, the other moles cheered. We're out of here. No, you're not, Moyer responded. What? Only one can fit inside Mizar. Moyer opened the door, and on the other side what? Moyer opened the door, and on the other side was then open chest compartment of Mizar. I guess the open chest compartment. Sorry, brothers, but I'm going solo, and you're taking the fall. The other mole brothers tried to stop Moyer, but Moyer was already inside Mizar's chest. Moyer closed the door to the ship, and then closed up the chest. Excellent. Moyer activated the controls of Mizar. It's time I get out of here. Mizar's wings fluttered again. The attacks from Jet Force still did not hurt the evil creation. Moyer set the controls for an escape, and Mizar zoomed away from the crowd of Jet Force ships. Don't let him escape, the chief commanded. After him. The Jet Force ships continued their pursuit after Moyer, while a few Jet Force ships stayed with the mole's ship. Again, like, ship is every other word, it feels like. Mizar proved to be a challenge for Jet Force. The ships were falling far behind as Mizar flew further ahead. As the ships tried to follow Mizar, their radar sensed another ship speeding from behind them. The members of Jet Force were startled. The chief ordered some of his men to identify the new speeding ship. One man confirmed that it was a drone ship. What? The chief turned on the telecommunication to the drone ship. The drone ship rocketed past most of the Jet Force ships as the chief spoke into the communicator. Drone ship, this is Jet Force. I command you to cease your pursuit and surrender yourselves immediately. Negative, Vela's voice replied on all of the Jet Force communicators. What? Vela? That's correct, sir. My ship was destroyed back on Rithessa, so I've taken control of the drone ship. Barry is with me, and we are continuing on this pursuit of Moyer. Vela, you shouldn't bring Barry along in the pursuit. He's still a wanted criminal. Further assistance to him will result in abetting a criminal. Barry got enraged and took control of the communicator. Listen to me. I admit I was the original Mizar, and I also admit that I was wrong, but I am not the same as I was before. I realize my sins, and I'm trying to make up for all of that right now. The Mizar that you've just witnessed is more powerful than my own. If Moyer begins to experience the power behind that creation, he will most likely be controlled by the evil inside. If that happens, then the universe will have to face another intergalactic tyranny much deadlier than the last one. This is our chance right now to stop it from happening. I know Mizar's weaknesses and strengths. I'm vital to this downfall. I'm on this chase to help defeat Mizar and bring down Moyer. If no one stands against him now, he will give birth to a second terrorism of Mizar. I am joining you on this chase whether you say so or not. It's in my best interest to see all of us taken care of. That could have been shortened down to maybe 2 sentences, probably more like 1, instead of an entire paragraph. Barry terminated the connection between the drone ship and Jet Force. He turned to Vela, who was looking confused at the tribal. Sorry, Vela, I overreacted. Actually, I think that was awesome. Barry's eyes perked open, and he came in eye contact with Vela smiling back at him. Barry developed a small smirk and sat back in his seat. Well, we better catch up to him before it's too late. Let's go, Vela. Right, Vela flicked multiple switches on the control panel and placed her right hand on the levers beside her. Let's get that, Mizar. Drone ship engines, maximum scorch. The drone ship's engines blasted their fiery rage and carried the drone ship further ahead. In almost an instant, the Jet Force ships could not see the drone ship anymore. I cannot believe the power of this machine, Moyer said to himself while inside Mizar. The speed is incredible. I can't even fathom the ratio I'm traveling per second. Heh. Mizar was approaching an asteroid field. He flew deep into the center of the asteroids and stopped. Moyer looked at the controls and inspected the attacks he was capable of performing. He targeted a nearby asteroid and fired at it with Mizar's eye laser shots. The asteroid was destroyed in the impact with the shots. Then Moyer tested Mizar's acidic breath on another asteroid, which melted away in contact. I knew Mizar had these capabilities, Moyer said, but I had no idea they could do this much damage. Why was I wasting my time with those idiot brothers of mine? Look at what I could have been doing this entire time. Mizar's sensors picked up many space vessels approaching. It was the drone ship, and far behind were the Jet Force ships. Mizar's in there somewhere, Vela speculated. The radar hadn't detected anything coming out of that asteroid field. The drone ships stopped before entering the asteroids. The Jet Force ships finally joined up with Vela and Barry. Okay, men, the chief ordered. Mizar's in there somewhere. Let's go in together. Wait, Barry commanded to Jet Force. Mizar has the ability to control an attack with the matter around him. Silence, Barry. What? You are in no position to give orders. The chief redirected his command to Jet Force. Attention all of Jet Force. Locate and apprehend the fugitive. The chief disconnected the connection between them, and Jet Force proceeded into the asteroid field, but the drone ship didn't move. Airheads, Barry called them. They have no idea what they're getting themselves into. I believe you, Vale understood. Huh? You do? Juno told me about Mizar's ability to distort and move the matter around him to suit his needs. Going into the asteroid field with Mizar in it is like walking into a spider's web. It's his territory. I know, but still we can't do anything from out here. We have to get inside. Unfortunately, yes, Barry sighed. Barry, as we're going in, find out as much about the ship as you can. Weapons, resistance to damage, anything. Okay. Moyer closely examined the ships approaching him. One ship crept up from behind Mizar. The Jet Force officer inside the ship contacted the other pilots. I found him. I'm sending coordinates now. Only the Jet Force ships received Mizar's coordinates. Mizar turned around and spotted the ship that located him. Nitwit, it spoke. Mizar lifted his iron claw high, and a huge asteroid headed straight for the Jet Force ship. The officer tried to dodge the attack. The asteroid collided with it and severely damaged the ship's side. The ship sparked wildly with electricity and exploded. That was too easy, Mizar stated. Mizar lowered his claw again, and the other Jet Force ships advanced. Sir, one officer informed the chief, we have just lost unit number 45D. What? The chief growled. Mizar. Mizar viewed the situation around him. All of the Jet Force ships were in front of him and prepared for a bombardment. Mizar, the chief commanded, surrender immediately or we shall fire. Mizar grabbed his abdomen and laughed hysterically. Do you think your feeble weapons will harm me? Fine, the chief growled. All men, fire now. The Jet Force ships commenced bombardment. Mizar covered his chest and ducked his head. All of the missiles came in contact with Mizar. Each detonation covered the destruction with a fiery smoke. Cease fire, the chief ordered. The Jet Force ships ceased firing and awaited the smoke to clear. The chief narrowed his eyes, attempting to see through the smoke. Suddenly, 2 eye lasers were fired, and the chief's ship took impact. What? He said. No way. Mizar launched himself from the thick smoke and advanced to the Jet Force ships. The ships tried to counteract Mizar's assault with their missiles. Mizar's speed allowed him to evade the missiles and still approach the ships. He used his mantis claw and jammed it into one of the ships, destroying it immediately. Mizar took the same mantis claw and used the tip of it to shoot a fiery blast at the remaining ships. The Jet Force ships were engulfed in powerful flames. Their ships overheated and sustained much damage. All ships, the chief retreated. Fall back now. The ships turned around and fled back the way they came. Mizar raised his hands in the air, and his unseen energy launched a barrage of multicolored meteorites at the fleet of Jet Force ships. The final attack led to a few more ships destroyed and more ships damaged. Mizar ceased his attack and cackled at the fleeing ships. No one can defeat me, Mizar laughed. My power is omnipotent. Moyer checked the radar again. Another ship crept up to him. What's this? Another opponent? The drone ship appeared from behind the wall of meteors and meteorites. Moyer recognized his ship and stood dumbfounded. What? He complained. I ditched that ship. Moyer spoke to the drone ship from Mizar's mouth. Who are you, and why have you stolen my ship? Well, Vela teased through the communicator. As I recall, you left it there. What? Vela? Impossible. And since you destroyed my ship, it's only fair that you should pay me back for it. You're supposed to be dead. I figured there's no sense in dying yet, not while selfish bastards like you roam freely. And I second that, Barry spoke through the communication system. Huh? Mizar choked. Barry too? That's right. We trashed your Floyd and got out of that mine just in time. Now, Vela and I stole your drone ship, and we're going to kick your ass. You cannot defeat me. I am Mizar, and I will not fall to the likes of you. Barry, Vela called to him. What have you found out about this ship? It's like this, Barry explained. The ship is constructed with a fine metal almost similar to Mizar's. The ship should be able to withstand some damage before any systems begin to fail. Your weapons are similar to the drone's weapons. We have a rapid-fire machine gun, a standard one-shot pistol, and mega blasters. The ship also has evasion thrusters on the sides, top, and bottom. We should be able to evade Mizar's attacks pretty easily. We even have escape pods just in case of emergencies. All systems are on standby. Okay, Barry, listen. We both know that Mizar is fast now. While I'm trying to watch what's in front of us, check the radars and scanners for anything attacking us. The last thing we need is for him to take us by surprise. Don't worry, Vela. I got that taken care of. You can count on it. Good. Thanks, Barry. Huh? Barry thought. Thanks? From Vela? Mizar stationed his arms to the side and posed in a fighting stance. The drone kept its position and faced Mizar. The drone ship. I don't know if I said that. I might have just got tired of saying ship and just skipped it. Vela and Barry waited at the controls while Mizar eyed his opponents intensely. The remaining Jet Force ships were trying to view the upcoming battle through their scanners and radars. Vela's on her own, the chief worried. Can't help her. Mizar threw himself at top speed at the drone ship, his mantis claw prepared for a quick slash and kill maneuver. Oh no, you don't, Vela screamed. The drone ship's side thrusters roared and the drone ship evaded Mizar's attack. Mizar was quick to retaliate with another lunge after them. Vela's ship faced Mizar and evaded upward. Mizar tried to reach her ship with the slash, but the drone ship was too high by the time the claw came around. Mizar's eyes glowed a purple light and fired twin eye laser shots at the drone ship. Upon impact, little damage was done to the ship. Mizar rushed upward at his opponents to slash them. As he got there, the front thrusters on the drone ship were activated, causing the ship to evade backwards. Mizar's slash hit nothing, but left him open for attack. Vela, Barry informed. Now, aim for his head. A missile launched from the drone ship and headed for Mizar's head. Mizar's head perked up at the attack and flew above it before impact. He hovered above the drone ship before Vela could follow him. Damn, she cried, he's too fast. Mizar sped downward and fired his laser shots again. The ship was barraged, but still remained intact. The ship moved forward, avoiding any other shots, but Mizar raised his mantis claw for another attack. Watch out, Vela, Barry warned. He's coming from above. Vela sneered and increased the ship's speed to dodge forward. Mizar expected the evade, and instead he threw a wall of fire from his claw. It matched the drone ship's speed and followed it. The ship flew above the fire and turned around to face Mizar. As soon as it was completely turned, Mizar was already in front of them and delivered a powerful punch with his iron claw. The drone ship hurled around in circles and fell towards a huge asteroid. Vela and Barry were left screaming, trying to brace themselves for collision. The ship destroyed half of the asteroid on impact and rested on the remaining half. Vela and Barry regained their senses, but not before Mizar charged at them again. Mizar was certain to destroy their ship with his mantis claw. The drone ship quickly activated the bane thrusters and flew out of Mizar's path. The mantis claw drove through the asteroid, shattering the meteor in many small fragments. Mizar was furious as he growled as he turned around to find his enemies. Vela was ready for Mizar as he turned around. She launched a missile straight for Mizar's head. Before Mizar could react, his head suffered impact with Vela's missile. Got him, Vela cheered. Yes, Barry supported. Just a few more of those and he's history. The explosion was mighty. The drone ship vibrated from merely feeling the blast. A fire calmed and the smoke cleared. Mizar's face was in view and there was no damage done to it. What the hell? Vela looked surprised. What? Barry couldn't believe his eyes. He should have at least bled a little bit. I told you, Mizar voiced. I am Mizar, and I cannot be defeated. Moyer, Barry activated the communicator. Listen, you're not Mizar. The battle system is screwing with your mind. It's making you think you're Mizar, but you're just controlling him. Let it go, now. You're mistaken, Mizar responded. I may still be Moyer on the inside, but it was I who created this machine, and as you can see, it's made from a different design than your Mizar, Barry. My Mizar does not possess the same weaknesses as yours, making mine superior. Once I've dispensed with you, I will show this universe what a true Mizar can do. I gave rebirth to the drones. I can create much better creations. I have the power to do as I please in this life. I will make everyone understand the true genius I am. You sound just like me when I was Mizar. That glory will not last forever. Sooner or later, you will go down. Justice will defeat you. You're wrong, Barry. The justice system, the police, the tribals, all of you lack what it takes to properly run a civilization or an organization. No matter how much you try, there will always be error and mistakes in society due to your insignificance. I will correct your corruption to reality. I will make things the way they should be, but not before I finish off you. Mizar flew at the drone ship, preparing for a collision course. Vela easily dodged Mizar as he zoomed by. As the drone ship turned around to face Mizar, he was nowhere in sight. Vela was puzzled, and Barry did not find Mizar on the scanners. What is this? Vela pondered. Where'd he go? I'm not picking anything up on the radar, Barry informed her. Mizar must be hiding behind one of the asteroids. On the radar, the small dot signifying the asteroids moved slowly across the screen. Barry inspected the radar carefully. No sudden movement was aroused. Barry grew worried that Mizar was planning something. Without warning, all of the asteroids stopped moving. Barry's eyes widened, and he could not find one moving asteroid. He gazed outside, and there was no movement. Vela, Barry ordered, stop the ship. Why? Just do it. The drone ship came to a halt directly in the center of the asteroid field. Barry checked the radar again and snarled. Barry, Vela asked. What is it? All the asteroids stopped moving. So? Vela, asteroids are supposed to move no matter how slow they travel. At first, these asteroids were moving at an average velocity of 13 meters per second. Now they're all stationary. The only thing that can cause that is an unnatural force. Mizar. Yep, Barry nodded. They looked around, trying to find any warning of the upcoming attack. No luck came to either of them. Should I ask you what you think he's planning on doing? Vela asked. Or is it too obvious? It's too obvious, Barry replied. Every asteroid around them suddenly lunged itself at the drone ship. The ship received horrible damage. Meteors and meteorites continuously slammed into the drone ship. Vela and Barry were thrown in random directions in their seats. The ship sustained dents and fractures. Vela had enough. She piloted the ship forward in an effort to dodge the asteroids. There were still plenty of meteors ahead of her, and the rest of the asteroids pursued her from behind. The drone ship attempted many evades, but the ship had taken considerable damage regardless of how it tried to dodge. Vela tilted the ship upward and continued on a course above the asteroid field. Huge rocks still collided into the ship as Vela proceeded with her plan. Soon, there were no asteroids in front of the drone ship, but the rest of the asteroids still followed from behind. The drone ship sped far ahead of the barrage of rocks and faced them. Eat this, Vela cried. Vela unleashed as many weapons as she could fire. The machine gun, the missile launcher, and the standard ship pistol all shot the asteroids. The attack destroyed the asteroids as they came closer. A repetition of numerous explosions and wild bullets shattered the meteors into harmless bits of planetoids. Some meteorites circled around the attack, but Vela caught them and destroyed them with the missiles before impact. Vela's discharge against Mizar's barrage lasted well over a half a minute. She still fired missiles through the fiery smoke, even though she couldn't tell if there were any asteroids left. It's over, Vela, Barry confirmed. All the asteroids are destroyed. Mizar is in front of us, about 0.67 kilometers away. Vela was desperately catching her breath. Moving and reacting so vigorously tired her. She kept a firm grip on the controls, knowing that she couldn't give up yet. Mizar approaching. Barry quickly read on the scanners. You bastard, Vela screamed at Mizar. Vela guided the drone ship through the hot smoke and charged Mizar. Vela, Barry hollered. What the hell are you doing? Vela fired 3 missiles at Mizar. Mizar evaded all of them and still approached, bearing his mantis claw again. Vela realized her mistake and tried to dodge before Mizar hit them. This time, Mizar was close enough and scraped a huge line across the bottom of the ship. The ship was slightly thrown off course, but Vela sustained its control. Mizar looked back at his enemies, expecting their ship to explode soon. Vela, Barry emphasized, that was totally careless. I know, Vela depressed her head, but quickly shook off her regret. What's the ship's status? Protection is down to 58% and holding. Thrusters appear functional. Radars and scanners remain operational. The standard drone ship pistol is not responding. Cooling systems are down. Communication systems are still online. Ship energy stands at 41% left, and I'm sure you can see how cracked up the windshield is. How about our weapon gauge? We're down to 34% left due to that attack on the asteroids. Unfortunately, since one of the weapons is inoperative, our true estimate of weapon supply lies at 25%. That should still be enough to take Mizar down, provided if we can hit him. Yeah, but apparently his head isn't his weak spot anymore. If only I knew what his weak spots are. Wait a minute. The reason the Mizar I created had its head as a weak spot was because the original function for the head was offense and to carry the passenger. Huh? The head was the weak spot because it wasn't designed to sustain a lot of damage. It was designed to attack, but it was primarily to hold me inside. That's why it was weak. If we knew where Moyer was hiding inside Mizar, that would be his weak spot. That means that Moyer isn't in the head. Moyer must be in Mizar's chest. It's the only other place where a creature as big as a Mole Brother can fit inside of it. Well then, Vela prepared to attack. Let's go for the chest. The drone ship and Mizar flew at each other again. Mizar withdrew his mantis claw once more, but Vela expected it. As Mizar drew in closer, Vela prepared to fire a missile. When Mizar was in reaching distance of the drone ship, Bela fired a missile directly into Mizar's chest and guided the ship away from Mizar. Mizar's body stopped and humped over. He gagged as multicolored blood spewed from his chest and electricity sparked around his body. Inside, the control panel sparked wildly as Moyer tried to dodge the electricity. The drone ship flew behind Mizar and prepared for another charge, while Mizar's body began to calm. Mizar stopped bleeding and the electricity stopped sparking. However, smoke emerged from Mizar's chest. Moyer spun Mizar around to gloward at the drone ship. "You little bitch," Moyer yelled into the communicator. "Stop calling me a little bitch," Bela shot back. "You're gonna pay for what you did to me." Mizar charged at the drone ship and unleashed his acidic breath. Bela was unprepared for the attack, but reacted quickly enough to dodge. The acidic spray followed the drone ship, and Mizar flew in closer and closer. As Mizar nearly came in reaching distance, the drone ship used its full speed and flew behind Mizar before he could react. As Mizar tried to look back, he found the drone ship rammed into his chest at top speed. Mizar gagged again, but it left Bela open for more attacks. She fired a missile to blast Mizar off of her ship. Mizar fell backwards and the drone ship fired another missile into the chest. Mizar still experienced much damage. He was not able to defend himself on the count of his affliction. The drone ship unleashed another assault with a machine gun. Mizar's chest took more abuse from Bela. Mizar's body rumbled wildly from the contact after contact with the rapid bullets. Moyer's control panel sparked uncontrollably. Moyer piloted Mizar above the rapid fire and receded. Bela went after Mizar, knowing she had him on the run. He covered his chest and waited for the drone ship to approach. As the drone ship prepared to launch another missile, Mizar changed direction and charged ferociously at the ship. Bela and Barry couldn't react in time and suffered a devastating punch from Mizar's iron fist. The ship was thrown out of control, leaving Bela and Barry screaming along their way, but Mizar's attack did not stop there. Mizar lunged forward and repeatedly punched and slashed the drone ship. The ship suffered greatly blow after blow. Bela didn't have enough time to evade in between each punch and slash. Mizar cackled, "I'll blow your ass to hell." Mizar gave one last punch, leaving the ship to spin around backwards. Bela tried to activate the side thrusters to prevent any more dizziness. The drone ship gradually stopped, and Bela and Barry grabbed their heads, comforting their headaches. Mizar's iron hand glowed brightly as Bela and Barry regained their sense of direction. The drone ship slowly turned to face Mizar, only to find out that Mizar's iron hand was glowing. "What?" Bela wondered. "What is he doing?" "No," Barry recognized the attack immediately. "Bela, get out of the way. He's gonna kill us." Mizar thrust his fist forward and unleashed a huge wave of pure electricity upon the drone ship. Oh, he's doing the finger bang. Bela's control panel sparked more than ever and eventually suffered explosions. Barry's control panel soon experienced the same result. The radar shattered and was engulfed in flames. The lights sparked and dimmed within seconds. The light bulbs burst, throwing glass into space. Engines and motors blew out completely. The computer systems overloaded and detonated themselves. The remaining Jet Force ships witnessed the fight before them. They reported what they saw to the rest of Jet Force. "Mizar's using some kind of energy wave," the chief announced. "It's ripping Bela's ship apart. This doesn't look good at all. That ship won't last for long. With our ships powerless of stopping Mizar, I'm afraid we're going to lose her." Juno heard everything from his ship. He was definitely worried. "Come on, Bela, don't let him beat you." Mizar ceased his attack. The drone ship was deeply impaired. The ship stood there lifelessly. Bela and Barry barely woke up afterwards. They blinked their eyes and speculated their situation. "Barry," Bela sighed. "Damage report." "There's nothing left," Barry answered. "All systems are dysfunctional. Energy has been overloaded and depleted. As you can see, our lighting system is completely down. We don't even..." Barry was interrupted as the ship began rumbling. Barry and Bela turned their heads back to see Mizar's iron fingers piercing through the ship. Mizar had his grip on the drone ship. "I told you," Mizar gloated. "You cannot defeat me." "Bela," Barry invoked. "We have to do something." "It's over, Barry," Bela sighed. "Mizar's beaten us." "What did you say?" "I can't beat him, Barry. We won. Or he won." "Bela, don't say that." "Oh, and why not?" she shot back. "If there's one thing I've learned from you Geminis, it's that you never give up. You of all people, I have never expected to give up like that. You can't quit yet. We've gotten too far to quit now." "There's nothing I can do, Barry." Barry slammed his fist on what was left of the control panel. "That's what I mean. That's the attitude that's ticking me off. I've been hearing that all the time in my life from people who give up too easily. Then I started thinking that to myself over and over again, and now I'm damn sick of it. There's always something you can do. Jeff kept trying to get me out of prison. Juno knew there was something he could do to investigate my case. I knew that there was something I could do to help your personal problem back in that prison. That sounds dirty. You knew that there was something you can do when you shoved that drone pistol into that other drone's mega blaster. Hell, even the Mole Brothers knew there was something they could do to help their business even though it was wrong. Those who don't give a damn. Those who don't care are those who quit. Are you listening to me? Are you gonna quit on Juno, Lupus, all of us? If you give up now, Mizar will plague this universe.
Like, anytime Barry starts talking, it's like guaranteed to last a really long time. And I'm like wondering, while he's saying all this, like, is Mizar just like letting him talk?
Like, his time stopped until he's done talking and then it starts back up again? Vela came in eye contact with Barry as Mizar's iron fist started to squeeze the ship. Barry continued, Vela, everyone has confidence in you. Juno has confidence in you. Lupus has confidence in you. Jeff has confidence in you. The tribals have confidence in you. I think we got it, like, when you said everyone. You didn't have to list everyone off individually. Jet Force has confidence that you can beat up Mizar. Even I have confidence that you can. We all have confidence in you. You can do this. Vela turned her eyes towards the cracked windshield. Mizar's chest was directly in front of them. With the ship being squeezed in, Vela could not waste any more time. She grabbed Barry's wrist and floated over to the escape pods. Hey, Barry said. What are you doing? Vela opened up one of the escape pods and shoved Barry inside. Barry jerked up as Vela shut the hatch of the pod. Vela, Barry hollered through it. What are you doing? Sorry, Barry, Vela answered, but I can't risk you dying. I have to live. Vela. Vela shut the hatch to the pods and pushed a huge red button inside the hatch. The ship exerted a strong gust, forcing the escape to float away from the drone ship. Barry screamed Vela's name until Vela couldn't hear his voice anymore. She floated back to the bridge and withdrew her tri-rocket launcher. She stood on the pilot's seat and aimed her gun right at Mizar's chest. Point-blank range, Vela thought. If this doesn't do it, nothing will. She inspected the windshield. The windshield was so badly cracked that it shouldn't stop the tri-rockets from going right through it. Well, this is it, Mizar. Your reign of terror shall never proceed. Vela fired a tri-rocket launcher. 3 spiraling fiery rockets penetrated the windshield and made impact with Mizar's chest. Mizar hacked as multicolored blood spewed from his abdomen. Moyer inside tried to cover himself from the flames bursting from his control panel. Electricity traveled around Mizar's body, and Vela fired again. Mizar's chest bled excessively. More of the control panel inside was destroyed from the overload. Vela was ready to fire again, but the depths of outer space vacuumed the oxygen from her ship. Vela grasped her neck. She couldn't breathe. She had enough energy to resist the suffocation for one last shot to Mizar's head. She narrowed her eyes and focused her aim. Vela fired one last shot at Mizar's abdomen. With that done, Vela let go of her gun and grabbed her neck with both hands. She choked as she floated upward. She wiggled very frenetically while her eyelids expanded extensively. Moyer screamed as his entire control panel burst into one huge flame. While Moyer was engulfed by the hellish fires, Mizar's chest burned externally. Mizar's iron hand threw the ship backward. The lifeless drone ship spiraled away from Mizar. Tiny detonations covered Mizar's body like ticks over a dog. As the drone ship continued to spiral, that's a really weird analogy. As the drone ship continued to spiral, Vela slipped out of the windshield and was separated from the dead ship. On his scanner, the chief of Jet Force noted another heat source separating from the drone ship. He knew it had to be Vela. Troops, the chief commanded. Left flank, salvage the escape pod. Right flank, remain on your guard. I will rescue Vela. The left flank of the Jet Force ships flew towards Barry, while the chief piloted his ship at Vela. However, before he could get to her in time, Mizar's body flashed brightly and ruptured in an enormously massive explosion. It blew a wave of flame and ashes in all directions. The force of the explosion rocked the chief's ship. As he tried to brace himself, he checked his scanner for Vela and found her drifting away at an escalating velocity. Why wouldn't she have just burnt up? The force from Mizar's explosion had accelerated Vela's speed tremendously. As the chief proceeded his rescue mission, Vela stopped struggling. Her eyes closed and her arms and legs fell to her sides. The chief's ship hurried through the clutter of shattered glass, expanding heat, dented metal, and flaming ashes. The chief opened the door to his ship and flew up towards Vela's side. He had to get her inside before the vacuum of outer space pulled Vela away from him any further. He matched her speed and quickly forced his ship to Vela's side. Vela's body entered the ship, but outer space tried to tug her away. Chief Bailey got Vela's body inside the ship and immediately closed the door. I don't think this person knows how outer space works, but okay. The darkness that overpowered her sight for so long was illuminated by the source of light above her face. Her eyelids blinked softly until she saw the blurry image of a tribal's face in front of her. Hey, the tribals called to the others. She's waking up. She heard footsteps gathering around her, more blurry faces peering over her eyes. She tried to focus her vision on the images before her. The closest image laid a hand on her forehead. She was confused and tried to speak, but soon her vision cleared up. She recognized the faces of her brother, King Jeff, and Barry standing over her. The closest person to her was unfamiliar. Vela tried to speak. It's okay, Vela, Juno calmed her. You're in a hospital. Everything's fine now. Vela began to feel the energy coming back to her body. She looked up at the unfamiliar person and asked, Who are you? The person took a clipboard and a pen and marked down Vela's progress. The person held the clipboard to her side and smiled at Vela. Hello, Vela. I'm Dr. Eileen Sanson. For the past few days, you've been under the care of a few other doctors and myself. A few days? Vela was surprised. That's right. You sustained a lot of damage, such as burns from the fire and cuts from the shattered glass. Your boss managed to save you and provided you with oxygen before you suffocated. Yeah, Juno confirmed to Vela. I'm glad you can hold your breath for that long. I guess because she's able to hold her breath for so long underwater that he made it to where, okay, that actually makes sense to a certain extent. It's still total bullshit, but that's a nice connection that whoever wrote this made. Vela looked around the infirmary. She was wearing a patient's wardrobe and laid in a bed. What about Mizar? Vela, you toasted Mizar, Barry interrupted. I knew you could do it. Yeah, Vela, Juno added. I heard all about it from Barry. He said you really proved yourself. Listen, Dr. Sanson smiled at Juno and the others. I'll give you guys some time to talk, but remember that Vela has to rest and recover. Oh, thank you, Juno gratified. Don't mention it, Dr. Sanson said, giving a sweet smile and exiting the room. So guys, Vela continued, what happened to Moyer? I say we've seen the last of him, Barry explained. That explosion was huge. There's no way someone could have survived that. Well, she did, so there's at least one way that someone can. Vela sat up in the bed a little bit. What about the other Mole brothers? Tried and found guilty. Vela looked around the room, wondering what else to ask. One question came to her, and she became excited. What about Lupus? Whoa, Vela. Juno rested his hands on her arm. Take it easy. Lupus is just fine. He's been in ICU ever since the fight. The doctor said he'll recover in a short while. Vela calmed down and laid back in the bed. Although Juno speculated, I'd like to ask you something. What's that? Vela replied. Juno gave a somewhat sly smile. Were you trying to scare me halfway to death back there? Vela giggled softly. Sorry, Juno. She looked around to Barry. So, you helped me beat Mizar. Yeah, Barry affirmed. It was great. I see why it's hard to beat you Geminis. So does that mean all the charges against you have been dropped? Barry widened his eyes and slightly depressed his head. Not really. You see, first the council took into account that the whole situation wasn't my fault, so that charge was dropped. Next, they thought about my deeds in helping you guys out and stopping the real criminals. All of that was weighed against my tyranny as the original Mizar, and it didn't quite balance it out. Oh, Vela perked up in concern. But not to worry, Barry enlightened. This time I'm being sentenced to I-Corps for 30 years under police supervision. They even reopened the option of bail and just working on getting enough money now. Yeah, it's not exactly freedom, but it beats getting killed, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I get it. I'm actually glad all of this happened. I've redeemed myself to everyone, and now I get the chance to live my life again. Well, I guess you're happy. Of course, you should be happy too. Why, 'cause you won't get killed? I mean, besides that, you complained to yourself that you never get a chance at Mizar, and now look, you've redeemed yourself internally. Vela smiled. Yeah. Very this is just a shitload of dialogue, and it doesn't indicate who's talking for most of it, and so it's just like, is it supposed to be back and forth between two people, or is it like going around in a circle? Whatever. Barry, Jeff called. Yeah? Barry asked. We better get going. Remember the council only allowed you to stay here until Vela wakes up. Oh, I guess you're right. I'm very glad you're doing better, Jeff told Vela. If you need anything from me, please ask, and I hope that no one ever asks for anything from Jeff, because that's a terrible idea. You saved my brother, so now I'm in your debt as well as him. Hey, Barry snapped. I want to be in Juno's debt, not Vela's. Whatever, you guys, Vela interrupted. Barry preceded Jeff as they began to walk out of the room. Barry turned to Vale and stopped. Well, I gotta go to Icor now. I'm actually looking forward to it. Don't go building any more drones, Barry, Vale warned him. What, you must be crazy. After that incident, if I ever see another drone again, it'll be too soon. She stared in Barry's face. Likewise. Barry and Vela eyed each other for a while. Juno and Jeff looked puzzled. After a brief moment, both Vela and Barry snickered. Soon their snickering changed into a loud laughter and left Jeff and Juno completely clueless, as well as me. I have no idea why they're laughing. Vela stopped laughing and Barry calmed down. Jeff tapped Barry's shoulder, signaling him that it's time they left. Barry strolled towards the doorway, reciting his final words. Ah, Vela of Jetforce beat Mizar, Barry smiled. They'd make an excellent story someday. Barry walked out of the doorway. Yes, indeed, a great story. Jeff remained in the room, nodding towards Juno and Vela. As he turned around, he saw Barry peeking his head back in. Barry bared his crafty smile at Vela, who wasn't looking back. Maybe you should type it, Barry teased. Vela shot her head back at Barry. The expression on her face showed a world of surprise and shock. Barry withdrew his head from the doorway and ran off as if he were a mischievous child. Juno and Jeff witnessed Barry run away. Juno felt the urge to fear overtaking him. He looked over at Vela, who was fiercely glaring at him in the eye. Juno was left without much to say. Juno tried to explain. I don't understand. What? Like, I don't get this entire interaction. Juno tried to explain, but Vela knew exactly what to say. You're a dead man, Juno. Vela threw the bedsheets off of her and swung her legs around to jump out of bed. Juno's urge to fear took over and induced Juno to flee for the sake of his well-being. Vela leapt to her bare feet and chased Juno out of the room. Dr. Sanson was returning, but nearly tumbled over as Juno and Vela came rushing by her. Sanson looked back and tried to yell, but Juno and Vela were out of range of her voice. Sanson turned back around to the room where King Jeff was the only one left. The expression on Sanson's face clearly showed her wonderment towards why her patient was chasing after Juno. Juno understood Sanson's facial expression and only had a few words to say. It's like Juno always says, King Jeff explained. Vela is just being herself. The end. Thank God. It's over. It's finally over! I did it. I read the whole fucking story. All 35,781 words of it. Jesus, Murphy. Okay, anyway, thank you everyone who decided to pitch in for my trip to the North American Speedrunner Assembly, as reading all of this was a big thank you to all of you who made that event a really fun experience and much lighter on my wallet. Hopefully I never have to read another one of these like in full length ever again.